Chapter 1390. Darkness was too common, but it was Ning Cheng's first time encountering the laws of darkness. The darkness he usually saw was just an extension of the 5 elements of heaven and earth or some other laws with different attributes. This kind of darkness could be sensed with spiritual consciousness, but it was completely different from the real laws of darkness. Even if Ning Cheng had the mysterious yellow bead and gathered all kinds of origins of heaven and earth, it would only give birth to 8 spiritual roots. But among the 8 spiritual roots he derived, he lacked the dark attribute. When Ning Cheng and Kong Zai chatted, he heard Kong Zai talk about the darkness origin and the light origin. After the primal chaos of their universe, the world was condensed from the 5 elements and other laws. At the same time, darkness and light were also derived from these 8 attributes. There was also a saying that not only light and darkness, but even the 3 other laws of wind, thunder, and ice were derived from the 5 elements. But it was said that there was another universe. When the primal chaos of that universe first formed, there were only 2 kinds of heaven and earth laws, light and darkness. All the other attribute laws, such as metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, thunder, ice, and so on, were derived from the laws of light and darkness. Regardless of whether this statement was true or not, Ning Cheng had never seen a darkness-attributed cultivator or a darkness-attributed law-based spirit technique since the start of his cultivation. Maybe there were, but because the dark attribute was derived from the 5 elements, it was very weak. Therefore, few people cultivated darkness-attributed cultivation methods or spirit techniques. As for light-attributed spirit techniques, Ning Cheng had always thought that light, thunder, and lightning-attributed spirit techniques were the ones. Now that he saw Lan Bing directly defeated by the laws of darkness here and separated from the human world, he became even more certain that the power of hope was a branch of the light-attributed law. Ning Cheng wasn't worried that he would end up like Lan Bing. Although it would be difficult for him to leave this place, he was different from Lan Bing in that his Tao was stable and didn't rush to create a world. Moreover, the spirit techniques he cultivated were the 5 elemental spirit techniques and wind, thunder, and ice. Even if his lightning-attributed spirit technique had some friction with the laws of light, it wouldn't have too much of an impact. Although darkness-attributed spirit techniques were the nemesis of light-attributed spirit techniques, light-attributed spirit techniques were also the nemesis of darkness-attributed spirit techniques. It was just a matter of which was stronger and which was weaker. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness slowly seeped out, and the surrounding space turned dark. That stickiness made Ning Cheng vaguely feel that it was a darkness-attributed law that he had never come into contact with before. Moreover, the mysterious yellow bead could not give birth to darkness-attributed techniques, which made Ning Cheng even more careful. At the same time, he also had a trace of hope in his heart that he could understand the laws of darkness in this place and comprehend a darkness-attributed spirit technique. Although Ning Cheng knew that it would be very difficult, but he was not willing to give up. As long as he comprehended the law of darkness, it would be easy for him to leave this place. Ning Cheng calmed himself down, and his spiritual consciousness penetrated into the broken law fragments in front of him. Many of these law fragments were darkness-attributed law fragments. Ning Cheng felt confident in his own deduction ability. As long as he could obtain the information about the darkness-attributed laws, he might be able to deduce a darkness law-based spirit technique. Just when Ning Cheng found the first dark-attributed fragment, a black tide that tore apart his sea of consciousness surged over. Ning Cheng's starry sky sea of consciousness also shook violently, and an endless darkness washed over him, causing Ning Cheng to almost scream out in fear. Ning Cheng immediately understood that this was an attack from the laws of darkness. As long as his willpower was slightly weaker, he would fall into an eternal world of darkness under the attack of this dark law. Ning Cheng felt both shocked and angry. This darkness-attributed law attack on his sea of consciousness was definitely conscious, not caused by the space here. Since it was conscious, it meant that someone was controlling this attack from here. The everlasting blue thunder fort in Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness immediately protected the depths of his sea of consciousness. The celestial river sword and the nameless flame also formed a flame shield in front of Ning Cheng. Although the everlasting blue thunder fort's artifact spirit had not yet awakened, the thunder light from the everlasting blue thunder fort had blasted the black tide, attacking Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness out of his sea of consciousness. Perhaps because Ning Cheng's two sacred flames were too terrifying, the black tide did not continue to attack. Ning Cheng finally understood what Lan Bing had encountered. It turned out to be a powerful darkness-attributed attack. "Get out of my dark world or die." A gloomy voice came from the void. Ning Cheng raised his hand, and the good fortune divine spear shot out. At the same time, several thick lightning arcs shot out. This turned out to be someone else's dark world. Ning Cheng couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. He really couldn't understand how Lan Bing ended up in someone else's domain. Fortunately, this person should have been repairing his dark world. Otherwise, he wouldn't have told him to get out but would have killed him directly. Ning Cheng had already reached this person's domain, yet this person still couldn't kill him. From this, one could tell that this person's injuries were quite severe. "Who are you?" Ning Cheng looked at his few lightning arcs and sacred flames. In this dark world with broken laws, they only flashed a bright light. Not even the slightest bit of light could be seen in the surroundings. From this, he understood that this dark world was quite powerful. The gloomy voice continued, "It's not that this sovereign suffered heavy injuries, but if a little insect dared to break into this sovereign's domain, this sovereign would have already pinched it to death." Ning Cheng laughed and no longer bothered to ask questions. Blasting out with a finger, law breaking. The originally broken laws, under Ning Cheng's finger, collapsed once again. The dark void, which originally had its laws in a mess, now looked even more broken at this moment. Bursts of space shook, making this domain seem as if it would collapse at any time. However, Ning Cheng knew that this was just an illusion. Don't look at this person's dark world with broken laws everywhere. His law-breaking finger was still far from being able to break through the dark world here. Ning Cheng's finger was a warning to the dark world's master that he wasn't someone who could be threatened easily. This was also why Ning Cheng felt no fear. The other party didn't look like a good person at first glance. Since this person wasn't a good person and hadn't attacked him yet, it meant that he couldn't kill him. Or rather, the other party had already started, but couldn't do anything to him. As the laws in the broken space turned even more chaotic, Ning Cheng shook the good fortune divine spear in his hand and spoke with a calm tone, "My most powerful move isn't that finger. If you anger me, I'll just break your dark world. At most, I'll just have to put my life on the line. But compared to an ancient powerhouse's domain, my life is worth it. What do you want?" The gloomy voice turned even gloomier. Sure enough, as Ning Cheng had expected, the other party didn't attack. From this, it could be seen that the other party also knew about the power of Ning Cheng's law-breaking finger. "First, tell me who you are. Second, open your dark world and let me leave." Ning Cheng asked in a calm tone. He didn't care about his life as much as he said. If the other party really wanted to cut off all means of retreat, he would do everything he could to escape from this dark world. The gloomy voice in the darkness sneered, "You think too highly of yourself. At worst, I'll just spend tens of thousands of years to repair my dark world. An ant like you wants to talk about conditions with me?" Ning Cheng spoke up with a calm voice. "Tens of thousands of years to repair your domain? Do you think I don't know anything? Thousands or tens of thousands of years. Since I'm an ant, then let's see the spirit techniques of this ant." While talking, the good fortune divine spear in Ning Cheng's hand moved slightly, and a terrifying aura slowly spread out. It felt as if the next moment, the entire void would collapse under this slash. The voice in the darkness apparently felt the terror of Ning Cheng's spear and quickly called out to Ning Cheng to stop. At the same time, a more majestic and vast aura of the laws of darkness pressed down on Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng felt the Tao charm laws around him shatter inch by inch. But under the crazy circulation of his Tao charm, the shattered domain laws condensed once again. He knew very well that he couldn't show weakness at this time. Just like how Ning Cheng feared the powerhouse in the darkness, he didn't bring out the traceless collapse. The powerhouse in the darkness also feared Ning Cheng, but the terrifying suppression on Ning Cheng stopped here. He feared that Ning Cheng would really destroy the dark world that he had slowly begun to repair, just like what he had said before. This Lord, Tao Monarch Darkness, scram. Just as he finished speaking, a crack appeared in the void, and Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness instantly felt a sense of freedom from this crack. Ning Cheng didn't rush to leave but asked, "If I didn't guess wrong, the damage to your domain should have something to do with the first opening of the Gate of Good Fortune, right?" Kuth. Just as Ning Cheng's voice fell, the realm boundary that had opened a small crack closed again. Then, Tao Monarch Darkness' gloomy voice rang out, "Do you know the first time the Gate of Good Fortune opened? So, you also know about the first Great War of Good Fortune?" Ning Cheng heard the coldness in the other party's tone and understood that it was because of his words that Tao Monarch Darkness wanted to kill him. Ning Cheng indeed felt a little worried, but wealth came from danger. The second opening of the Gate of Good Fortune was imminent. If he could comprehend a spirit technique related to the laws of darkness, it would give him a chance at survival. After cultivating to this point, Ning Cheng didn't think that just because he had the mysterious yellow bead, he was the best under the heavens. In this vast void, he had seen too many powerhouses. Feeling the pressure of the domain slowly closing in, Ning Cheng understood that the other party wanted to kill him even if the dark world shattered again. Most likely, the other party had deliberately allowed Lan Bing to come in before. It was only later that Tao Monarch Darkness felt that Ning Cheng wasn't easy to kill, or that the price of killing him was too high that he let him go. However, Ning Cheng courted death and spoke about the first Great War of Good Fortune. "Tao Monarch Darkness, I advise you not to move. Otherwise, don't blame me for tearing and destroying your dark world. Don't say that it will take you tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of years to repair it, because the Gate of Good Fortune is about to open again. If your domain is still broken, you won't have the chance to participate." Sure enough, as soon as Ning Cheng said this, the pressure of the surrounding dark void suddenly weakened. Ning Cheng breathed a sigh of relief and took control of the Good Fortune Divine Spear. If the other party had really wanted to kill him just now, he would have shattered the other party's dark world. Ning Cheng believed that he could do it. It was just a dark world with broken laws. Why couldn't he break it? Chapter 1391. Did you know that the second Gate of Good Fortune was about to open? Tao Monarch Darkness retracted his realm domain and asked in a gloomy voice. Although he hadn't really fought with Ning Cheng yet, Tao Lord Darkness could feel that Ning Cheng was very strong. However, with Ning Cheng's strength, he still did not put him in his eyes. Once his world fully repaired, an ant like Ning Cheng would only end up as cannon fodder if he entered the Gate of Good Fortune. He didn't continue to attack Ning Cheng because he was worried that the second Gate of Good Fortune would open soon. Once the Gate of Destinies opened for the second time and he was still repairing the broken world, he, Tao Monarch Darkness, would be erased from the universe. Ning Cheng spoke up calmly, "I'm afraid that Tao Lord has been repairing the broken world here, so he doesn't know what's happening outside." 10,000 years ago, the Good Fortune Indestructible Axe was restored. After the indestructible axe of good fortune condensed, the green lotus of good fortune began to condense and repair itself. What? The Good Fortune Indestructible Axe has already condensed? Tao Monarch Darkness spoke up in surprise. Ning Cheng could even vaguely feel Tao Monarch Darkness's position. Sure enough, Tao Lord Darkness didn't know about the condensation of the Good Fortune Indestructible Axe. Of course, otherwise, how would I know that the Gate of Fortune is about to open for the second time? I'm not the only one who knows about this. Everyone outside knows about this. Tao Lord, do you really think you'll have a chance to step into the Gate of Fortune if we both end up heavily injured? Hearing Ning Cheng's words, Tao Lord Darkness sneered in his heart. A puny Tao Integration Divine Emperor dared to say that both sides would suffer. However, he did not continue to provoke Ning Cheng. After all, Ning Cheng was right about one thing. Even if Ning Cheng couldn't kill him, Ning Cheng could at least shatter his boundary a bit more. If the Good Fortune Indestructible Axe really condensed and the Good Fortune Green Lotus began to repair itself, then this ant in front of him was probably telling the truth and the Gate of Good Fortune would open again. Since you've told me this information, I won't kill you. You can leave. Tao Lord Darkness's voice was still as gloomy as ever. Ning Cheng laughed again, Tao Monarch Darkness, if I wanted to leave, I would have left from the very beginning. I'm staying here to tell you this because I want to make a deal with you. Tao Monarch Darkness snorted. What right do you have to make a deal with me? Ning Cheng said calmly, Tao Monarch, I'm afraid that the most urgent thing right now is to repair your realm. I have a way to bring Tao Monarch's Tao of Laws to the next level, and then at least double the speed of repairing your realm. Tao Monarch Darkness said disdainfully, You? It wasn't that he was disdainful, but Ning Cheng, a puny Tao integration holy emperor, wanted to improve his Tao of Laws to the next level. Ning Cheng still didn't care and said, I have a bestowing lawless fruit. Bestowing lawless fruit? Do you have such a thing? Sure enough, after hearing Ning Cheng mention the bestowing lawless fruit, Tao Lord Darkness felt a little moved. However, he immediately said, the bestowing lawless fruit is indeed a good thing. It might allow me to gain a more thorough understanding of the laws, but it still can't double the speed at which I can repair my domain. No wonder that finger of yours had the effect of breaking laws. It turns out that you have the bestowing lawless fruit. Since Ning Cheng possessed the bestowing lawless fruit, he naturally had a better understanding of laws compared to the average person. Being able to execute a spirit ability like the order-breaking finger was nothing surprising. Ning Cheng knew that the bestowing lawless fruit couldn't tempt the other party and continued, in addition to the bestowing lawless fruit, I also have a bit of stabilizing soil. You have stabilizing soil? Tao Lord Darkness's voice grew a little louder. Although he still remained calm, Ning Cheng could tell that he was tempted. I'm afraid that you won't be tempted, Ning Cheng thought to himself. To repair the Grand Essence Realm, he had been searching for the 5 soils. At the same time, he had also been trying to understand the characteristics of the 5 soils. Since Tao Lord Darkness Domain's laws were broken, the best way was to use the 5 soils to repair it. Besides Heng Ran, Ning Cheng had the rest of the 5 soils on him. But Ning Cheng didn't want to take out the other chaos soils so easily. The reason why he took out the stabilizing soil was that it had an extremely important stabilizing effect on broken realms. Even if he wanted to take out the stabilizing soil, Ning Cheng could only take out a little bit the size of a longan fruit. As such, he couldn't take out too much. He also needed stabilizing soil to repair the Grand Essence Realm. That's right, I have a bit of stabilizing soil. Although it's only the size of a longan fruit, I believe that it would be of unparalleled help to Tao Lord. Ning Cheng said with certainty. Tao Lord Darkness was currently repairing his domain in this place. He definitely didn't have the time or energy to search for the Chaos 5 soils by himself. Even if he went looking for it, he might not be able to find it. This thing wasn't something that could be obtained with high cultivation. It also required a lot of opportunities. What do you want? Tao Lord Darkness's tone returned to its previous gloomy state without any fluctuations. I want a way to understand the darkness-attributed laws. Ning Cheng said immediately. He had risked his life to stay here for the sake of understanding the laws of darkness. Tao Lord Darkness remained silent for a long time before speaking up slowly. Your conditions are too weak to exchange for the laws of darkness. Ning Cheng knew that this was the case. In fact, even if he used all 4 kinds of chaos soils on him, he might not be able to exchange them for the laws of darkness. But the current environment was different. Doing business was about asking for a sky-high price and returning the money on the spot. Tao Lord Darkness urgently wanted to repair his domain. Stabilizing soil was very important to him, and the bestowing lawless fruit was equivalent to charcoal in the snow. At most, he could take out a little more releasing soil. Since it's not enough, then forget it. Tao Lord, please open the domain and let me leave. Ning Cheng said without hesitation. Tao Lord Darkness still hadn't opened the domain. Ning Cheng understood that the other party was considering whether it would be worthwhile to kill him. Ning Cheng naturally wouldn't let the other party continue to consider it, and the good fortune divine spear once again shot out. A violent aura of Tao charm erupted, and at the same time, his spiritual consciousness domain also spread out into a huge free space. Within his domain, Ning Cheng took a relaxed step forward. With this step, his traceless collapsing space spear pattern slapped towards the shore like a wave of steel. This was the heaven waves rolling that Ning Cheng had comprehended from the Milky Way. Although it hadn't taken shape yet, it could be combined with the traceless collapsing space technique to display a powerful continuous power. Feeling his domain trembling again, Tao Lord Darkness suddenly shouted, "Stop, or this lord will not be polite." Ning Cheng knew that if he continued to toss and turn, Tao Lord Darkness would definitely cut off all means of retreat. "I'm willing to trade with you, but I have one condition. My laws of darkness are one of the most powerful laws in the entire universe. It's a true darkness-attributed law, which is completely different from those so-called darkness-attributed laws. I can only give you the most basic darkness-attributed law information. Whether you can comprehend it or not is up to you. Moreover, after you comprehend it, you must never pass it on to anyone else." Tao Lord Darkness finally made up his mind. He didn't dare to make this bet. Otherwise, even if he killed Ning Cheng, it would take him countless years to repair his domain. Perhaps he would really miss the second opening of the Gate of Good Fortune. "Deal," Ning Cheng said without hesitation. He felt sure that Tao Lord Darkness had never done business before and didn't understand the logic of asking for a higher price. He wasn't Tao Lord Darkness's disciple, so he naturally didn't expect Tao Lord Darkness to teach him the laws of darkness. He had the mysterious yellow formless, which allowed him to gain an entry-level understanding of the laws of darkness. That way, he would be able to deduce a true darkness-attributed spirit technique. Suddenly, a pitch-black ball of Tao charm appeared in the dark void. Ning Cheng also threw out 2 jade boxes without hesitation. One of them contained the bestowing lawless fruit, while the other contained the stabilizing soil. A wave of Tao charm swept away Ning Cheng's 2 jade boxes, and Ning Cheng also raised his hand and grabbed the pitch-black ball of Tao charm. The moment he grabbed the ball of Tao charm, Ning Cheng understood that this ball contained the Tao charm of the laws of darkness. The next moment, a gap appeared in Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness again. This time, Ning Cheng didn't hesitate. He turned into a ray of light and escaped through the gap. When Ning Cheng once again landed in the endless void, his spiritual consciousness swept out but found nothing in this place. The place he had just appeared felt like a dream, without even the slightest trace. So strong, Ning Cheng thought to himself. He knew that Tao Lord Darkness wasn't afraid of him finding him. Even if he did, he wouldn't be able to find Tao Lord Darkness. Unless an expert on the same level as Tao Lord Darkness or even stronger than Tao Lord Darkness came. Even so, he might not be able to find Tao Lord Darkness. Tao Lord Darkness controlled the laws of darkness, which made him an expert in concealment. Ning Cheng took out the gray positional ball, world mountains and rivers, and quickly found his current location. His current location was too far away from Jiaoliang realm. At his current speed, it would take him several years to get there. Ning Cheng simply called out Chasing Bull and handed the positional ball to Chasing Bull. Then he pointed to Jiaoliang realm on the positional ball and said, "You go to this place now, as soon as possible. Remember, don't disturb me if there's nothing important. I'm going into secluded cultivation." "Yes, master." Chasing Bull happily grabbed the positional ball. After so many years, Master finally remembered to let it out for a ride. Ning Cheng felt speechless. After so many years, Chasing Bull had barely reached the Tao sculpting realm. But wasn't it because of Chasing Bull's aptitude and how hard it cultivated? It was all because of the mysterious yellow bead's origin and the abundance of cultivation resources. More importantly, Chasing Bull's body was a wind-seeking heavenly bull. If replaced with a powerful spirit soul, with an innate cultivation body like the wind-seeking heavenly bull, its strength would have already reached the second step. After saying this, Chasing Bull didn't forget to add, "I will never disturb Master's cultivation." Ning Cheng sighed. Fortunately, Chasing Bull reacted in time. It stared at the positional ball and said with some embarrassment, "Master, this positional ball seems to be separated from us by countless planes." "I can't? You can't tear through the plane, can you?" Ning Cheng felt that this stupid bull's reaction speed was really slow. He helplessly grabbed a handful of talismans and handed them to Chasing Bull. "These are some breaking boundary talismans. Use these talismans, coupled with the speed of the starry sky wheel, and you should have no problems." Apart from Ning Cheng's spoils of war, some of these breaking boundary talismans came from the burning question talismans. Ning Cheng wanted to use this time to comprehend the laws of darkness and improve his strength further. Chapter 1392. Amidst a misty domain in the endless void, a woman in cyan robes paced back and forth beside the lotus pond for a long time. This lotus pond was different from ordinary lotus ponds. This lotus pond was suspended in the void and had a golden hue. The cyan-robed woman didn't know how long or deep this lotus pond was. She only knew that she had been wandering around this lotus pond for thousands of years. Ever since her master had brought her here, she had disappeared without a trace. Her master had said that once she had her own domain, he would come back to help her sculpt her Tao. But now, not only did she have her own domain, but her cultivation had also reached the full circle of the eternal realm. She was just one step away from Tao sculpting. However, her master had warned her not to sculpt her Tao in her master's absence. The cyan-robed woman sighed. She didn't know how heaven-defying her qualifications were. In just a few thousand years, she had cultivated from an ordinary woman with no foundation to the full circle of the eternal realm. She could feel the aura of the great Tao. She even felt that as long as she took one more step, she could transcend the ordinariness in front of her and truly step into a new realm. However, her master's words lingered in her ears. If she reached Tao sculpting before her master returned, her cultivation would end here. In fact, she didn't care about her cultivation stopping here. What she cared about was the memories of her previous life. Her master had also said that only by following a certain path to Tao sculpting could she obtain all the memories of her previous life. She could stop cultivating, but she couldn't abandon her memories. As the cyan-robed woman thought of this, she felt a little stunned. She looked at the golden lotus pond in front of her and thought of that man. That man carried her on his back as he ran through the curtain of light. That man carried her to the dawn. It was also that man who took her into the ice forest, and then she never came out again. If these were all dreams, then that man had personally rescued her from the flames and then replaced her to be swallowed by the flames. She had experienced all of these personally. He said that his name was Ning Cheng, and that he came here specifically to find her. He also said that she had left behind 10 ice walls on the ice cliff before she died, and those 10 ice walls recorded her words before she died. She didn't have time to talk to him carefully before the disaster came. He was swallowed by the flames, and she was taken away by her master. She vowed that she would cultivate to recover her memories, and then go to the soul world to find that man's soul and save him. Someone had risked his life to save her, so how could she, Yu Qing, not recall the memories that had been left behind at the cost of his life? Yu Qing withdrew her gaze from the golden lotus pond and looked at the crescent-shaped purple jade talisman in her hand. The words on the jade talisman were protected by a restriction. Even though she had been caressing it for 10,000 years, the words were still clear. I want to stay here with Wanderer forever, and I really don't want anyone to disturb me. Unfortunately, I was still disturbed. My body can no longer be touched by others. Once touched, I will turn into nothingness. I don't blame you. You did it unintentionally. If you want, please help me deliver this half-moon-shaped jade talisman to Culmination Starlands Yu Clan's corner city, my mother, Shen Mengyan. My mother would definitely be grateful. If you have any requests, just mention it to Yu Clan's corner city, they would definitely meet them. Yu Qing. She didn't know who Shen Mengyan was, but she wanted to see the 10 ice walls again. She wanted to find the wanderer who carried her and ran in the twilight. She wanted to see if it was Ning Cheng who had replaced her in the flames. No matter what, she still owed Wanderer and Ning Cheng a favor. No, she owed Ning Cheng a favor, and she owed Wanderer a favor. I really don't want to wait any longer. Yu Qing held the jade talisman in her hand and shifted her gaze to a small stone bridge at the edge of the lotus pond. Her master had told her that if her cultivation progressed too slowly, she would have a chance to cross the stone bridge. But before that, she must not go. Since her cultivation reached the full circle of the eternal realm, Yu Qing had always followed her master's words. She didn't try to sculpt her Tao or cross the stone bridge. But after waiting for thousands of years, she had already walked this path at the edge of the lotus pond countless times. She suddenly felt a little tormented in her heart. She could continue to wait, but would Ning Cheng's soul dissipate completely? Yu Qing pursed her lips. For the first time in thousands of years, she came to the edge of the stone bridge and carefully stepped over it. It looked like a very short stone bridge, but after Yu Qing stepped over it, it felt as if she couldn't reach the end. She walked for a few days before she saw the scene on the other side of the stone bridge. It turned out to be a garden with all kinds of bright flowers and plants. Some of these flowers were immortal spiritual plants, while some were just ordinary plants. But whether they were immortal spiritual plants or ordinary plants, they all had one thing in common, and that was beauty. Every flower was beautiful to the extreme. Yu Qing stopped in joy. She had never seen so many varieties of beautiful flowers before. Her master was a stunning beauty, and she had planted so many flowers because of her love for beauty. Thinking of this, Yu Qing subconsciously stroked her smooth white cheeks. She suddenly shivered. She remembered very clearly that her master had once told her that she was very beautiful, and that she might even surpass her. When her master said those words, she felt a chill in her heart. Because her master never joked with her and always spoke without any expression on his face. There were so many flowers in this garden that Yu Qing couldn't help but admire them all the way until there was no road ahead. At the end of the road, Yu Qing saw a gray wooden door with a gloomy aura. Yu Qing frowned slightly. A gray wooden door in this place looked too incongruous. Looking at the gray wooden door, Yu Qing looked at the flowers again, and suddenly felt a sense of sadness. The flowers no longer looked like the beautiful flowers from before. Instead, they looked sad. Yu Qing shook her head. Maybe her master had some use for her. She didn't move forward but turned around and prepared to go back. But just as she turned around, a dull thud came from the wooden door. Yu Qing suddenly turned to look at the gray wooden door again. She wanted to sweep in with her spiritual consciousness, but her spiritual consciousness couldn't penetrate it in the slightest. Even if Yu Qing cultivated to the eternal realm, she only had memories of the outside world when she was in Jiangsha City. For more than 10,000 years, she had never left this white mist world. In her memories, apart from the cave where she cultivated, there was only the golden lotus pond and the road beside the lotus pond. It was even her first time coming to this place. A painful moan once again emerged. This kind of painful moan made Yu Qing think of Ning Cheng, who was wrapped in flames. When Ning Cheng was wrapped in flames and struggled in the flames, did it also feel this kind of pain? Yu Qing didn't think about it anymore and pushed open the wooden door without hesitation. There were no restrictions behind the wooden door, only a slanted gray staircase. Yu Qing walked down the gray staircase. Not knowing how long she walked, Yu Qing stopped. In front of her was not a cell, nor a public square, but two huge pillars. These two pillars gave off a sky-piercing Dao charm aura, which seemed to extend to an endless place. A tumbling void aura roared between the two pillars. A few dozen feet away from the two pillars, there was a void restriction. Although Yu Qing's spiritual consciousness couldn't stretch into the restriction, she could feel that the painful moans came from this restriction. Yu Qing felt a chill in her heart. She didn't think that there would be such a prison in this cultivation place for immortals. She carefully moved over. The powerful Dao charm aura around her made her sway with every step she took. It felt like if she wasn't careful, the Dao charm aura would sweep her into the middle of the endless pillars. Is there anyone inside? Yu Qing finally arrived outside the restriction. She saw a temple-like building, but her spiritual consciousness still couldn't penetrate it. Who are you? A slightly hoarse voice came from the temple, sounding very vicissitudes of life. When Yu Qing heard someone speak, she finally felt a bit more at ease. She carefully replied, "I've been cultivating outside. Today, I accidentally walked in here and heard a voice inside, so I came to check it out." The voice in the temple turned silent for a while before speaking. "Xing Shi, that bitch, hasn't come yet. It stands to reason that she would know as soon as you stepped into the garden and immediately kill you. Could it be that she's trapped somewhere?" Yu Qing quickly spoke up, "Xing Shi is my master's name. Please don't talk nonsense." "Ha!" A burst of wild laughter came. "Your master, huh? Xing Shi, that bitch, actually accepted a disciple out of kindness? If I didn't guess wrong, after you create the world, you will replace me, Ji-hee, to guard the pillars. There was a hint of sadness in his laughter. Yu Qing's heart sank, but she didn't refute it this time. Deep in her heart, she had a vague feeling that this person named Ji-hee was right. Because her master hadn't seen her for more than 10,000 years, and it was likely that she was trapped somewhere. Seeing that Yu Qing had fallen silent, the maniacal laughter stopped, and he asked in a hoarse voice, "What kind of cultivation method did she give you to cultivate? What realm are you in now?" Yu Qing didn't hide it. "I cultivate my own cultivation method, and I'm now at the full circle of the eternal realm." "What? She let you cultivate your own cultivation method? That's impossible." A surprised voice came from the temple. Yu Qing quickly replied, "At that time, Master insisted that I cultivate her cultivation method. However, I had already promised someone else that I would cultivate the cultivation method given to me by him. Master didn't pressure me and let me cultivate my own cultivation method. But when I reached Dao sculpting, I must wait for her by my side." Yu Qing wasn't a fool. At this time, she felt that her master she didn't accept her as a disciple for simple reasons. As for when she chose her cultivation method, her master did say that she wanted to cultivate the cultivation method she gave her. At that time, she made up her mind that even if she died, she would cultivate the cultivation method Ning Cheng gave her. Since Ning Cheng left something for her before he died, she had to accept it. Chapter 1393. You haven't reached the Dao sculpting realm yet, and you're cultivating your own cultivation method. The voice in the temple seemed to be talking to itself. After a while, the voice suddenly spoke up, "I'm sure that bitch she is trapped somewhere. If you want freedom, you'd better cooperate with me. Find a way to get in here, and I'll tell you what to do." Yu Qing gave a sound and carefully used her spiritual consciousness to penetrate the restrictions around the temple. What surprised her was that after her spiritual sense fell on the restriction, she unconsciously felt where the weak spot was. Yu Qing immediately brought out a flying sword and blasted it towards the weak spot. Boom! With a slight shake, Yu Qing felt a violent backlash. She opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood, but the restrictions didn't budge. The voice in the temple sighed, "Your magic treasure is too weak, and your strength is also too weak. But the location you chose is not wrong. You shouldn't have touched on the Tao of array formations, right? Without touching on the Tao of array formations, you already have this kind of ability. Your talent is amazing, and the cultivation method you cultivate is also amazing. I'm sorry, I only have this flying sword." Yu Qing's face turned slightly red. In the ring Ning Cheng gave her, apart from cultivation methods and cultivation explanations, there were only a variety of cultivation pills. Moreover, these cultivation pills could only help her cultivate up to the ordinary domain realm. She could reach the eternal realm by relying on her own aptitude and perception, as well as the heaven-defying heaven and earth essence qi in this place. One could say that from the beginning of her cultivation, she had almost never used any auxiliary medicinal pills. It might sound a bit shocking, but it was the truth. There's nothing to be shy about. When I first started, I only had a pair of fists. The voice in the temple persuaded. This made Yu Qing feel a little grateful. The other party really thought about her. Although the restrictions here are just low-level restrictions with your flying sword, even after countless years, you still wouldn't be able to break it open. I have a way. We can bombard this restriction at the same time. I'll attack from the inside, and you attack the same place from the outside. I believe we should be able to blast it open at once. The hoarse voice in the temple said. Yu Qing wasn't a fool. She immediately asked in confusion, "Senior, since you can blast it open, why were you locked up here for countless years?" The voice in the temple sighed. "Don't call me senior in the future. My name is Ji-hee. Just call me by my name. I also thought the same way back then, but I ended up being teased by this bitch for countless years. The restriction she had set up wasn't very profound. My all-out attack was just enough to break the restriction, but I couldn't break it. Only then would I stupidly continue to bombard it. Senior Hee, Does that mean that the restriction will immediately repair itself after being blasted open a little? Yu Qing immediately understood. Ji Hui sighed. That's right. It's always that little bit missing. I understand. Senior He, please do it. Yu Qing was very smart. She immediately understood Xing Shi's meaning. I'll count to 3. We'll attack together. Ji Hui began counting. 3, 2, 1. Yu Qing was already prepared. The moment Ji Hui finished counting to 3, her flying sword had already shot out. Rumble Kacha. The restriction hit the same spot from the inside and outside at the same time. A crack finally appeared on the restriction. Yu Qing's eyes lit up, but before she could react, a shadow in the temple tore the restriction a few times, and the restoration of the restriction finally slowed down. Yu Qing looked at Ji Hui in front of her and cried out in shock. Ji Hui was a woman. She had a delicate face, but her clothes were tattered. Her body seemed to be pressed down by something. She was actually a dwarf. She was less than 3 feet tall. What shocked Yu Qing even more was that Ji Hui seemed to only have a qi-gathering cultivation. She had no foundation at all. At this moment, a chain had pierced through her shoulder blade and she was fixed to a praying mat. If Ning Cheng was here, he would definitely sigh. Compared to this, Ji He, Ling Bo and Luo Xian, who were also using the heaven pillar, were like heaven. Ji Hui seemed to know Yu Qing's shock. She didn't care and said, "Let's leave this place quickly. I'll tell you the rest slowly." "How do we leave?" "Your cultivation base." Yu Qing looked at Ji He with a worried expression. Ji Hui said calmly, "I don't cultivate the soul. I'm from the witch race. You don't have to worry about me looking like I don't have any cultivation. If I was at my peak, even Xing Shi would have to dodge with one punch. My height was caused by using the heaven pillar here. As long as we leave this place and the pressure is reduced, I will naturally recover." As she spoke, Ji Hui pulled the chain that was locking her shoulder blade. Following the sound of bones breaking, blood mist appeared. Ji Hui had forcefully removed the chain that was locking her shoulder blade. Yu Qing's heart trembled. She quickly wanted to take out some pills to help Ji Hui heal. But when she scanned her storage ring with her spirit consciousness, she found that there were no pills in her storage ring. Ji Hui's face was slightly pale. She smiled. "You don't have to worry. I'm from the witch race. Locking my shoulder blade isn't that serious to me." "Then my master?" Yu Qing was confused. She felt that her master was very smart. How could she make such a mistake? Ji Hui sighed. "Do you think she doesn't know? She deliberately let me break free so that I wouldn't be able to escape. Then she locked me up like that." "She's a devil." Yu Qing was sad. She believed Ji Hui's words. However, she immediately saw the restriction that was gradually closing. She hurriedly said, "Senior Hui, let's leave quickly. The restriction is about to close." Ji Hui shook her head. "We can't get out of that place. Xing Shi's white mist realm is outside. Besides her, no one can get out. There's only one way to get out of here. We have to leave through the heaven pillar." Yu Qing subconsciously looked at the back of the temple that led to the heaven pillar. The void Dao runes were tumbling there. With her cultivation level, she would be courting death if she went in. Moreover, if she wanted to leave through the inside, why would she tear the restriction on the outside wider? Ji Hui took out a ball of golden liquid and said, "This is the golden liquid from Xing Shi's lotus pond. I collected it for tens of thousands of years before I obtained this. If we use this liquid, we will have a chance of leaving through the void in the middle of the heaven pillar." "But..." Yu Qing looked at the golden liquid in Ji Hui's hand. Ji Hui laughed self-deprecatingly. She did it on purpose when the golden lotus liquid seeped out of the pool. She wanted to see me escape and then throw me here. She's a perverted woman with a strong desire for control. Otherwise, do you think I would have the chance to collect this golden liquid? However, she was careless for once. After so many years of observation, I discovered that as long as we open the restriction of this temple and connect the laws of the heaven pillar with the garden outside, we will have the chance to leave. Yu Qing was even more silent. If all of this was true, then her cheap master's actions were too vicious. She subconsciously looked at the beautiful flowers in the garden and sighed. Indeed, People who loved beauty might not be as beautiful as flowers. Ji Hui knew what Yuqing meant. She sneered and said, "Do you know why her garden is so flourishing? The fertilizer under the flowers are countless beauties. Moreover, they are all beauties who have cultivated successfully. As long as she thinks that their beauty can threaten her, she will capture them and use them as fertilizer. You're even more beautiful than her. If I'm not wrong, if you can't create a world within the specified time, you will also become the fertilizer under this garden." Yuqing shuddered. Before she could react, Ji Hui grabbed her and said, "Don't think too much about it. Let's go." The next moment, the two were wrapped in a golden liquid and rolled into the vast void between the heaven pillars. In another part of the void, the starry sky wheel stopped. In recent years, Chasing Bull had been very proud of itself. It controlled the starry sky wheel and shuttled through the vast void. Even if some meteorites couldn't avoid it, the powerful protective restrictions of the starry sky wheel blew them away. But today it felt worried. According to the directional instructions of the world mountains and rivers, it should have torn open this part of the void and let the starry sky wheel continue to move forward. The problem was that it couldn't tear open this part of the void. It had already used 2 breaking boundary talismans, but it still couldn't shake this part of the void. At this moment, it even suspected that this part of the void was not a boundary, but a real positional plane. Its master was cultivating and comprehending spirit techniques. At this time, it must not disturb him. Once it angered its master, its good days would come to an end. Ningqing wasn't just comprehending spirit techniques, but he was also decomposing the laws of darkness. Compared to the time when he tried to comprehend the traceless collapse alone, he now had a direction to go in. As Ningqing decomposed the laws of darkness, he even felt glad that he was at the late-stage Dao integration realm. If he were at the early-stage Dao integration realm, it would not have been easy to grasp the laws of darkness. Over the past few years, he had gained a deeper understanding of the laws of darkness. At this time, he also gained a certain understanding of why the power of hope belonged to the laws of light. The laws of darkness and light not only applied to the naked eye and spiritual consciousness, but also to something that could be sensed by the spiritual soul. The power of hope was a powerful force that eroded the spiritual soul. This force belonged to the laws of light at the soul level. Similarly, the laws of darkness also had a power at the soul level. With just a thought, Ningqing's entire sea of consciousness was swept away by a vast black tide. This black tide was under his control, and with just a thought, his sea of consciousness regained its clarity in the next moment. Ningqing felt overjoyed. He had already grasped the basics of the laws of darkness. As long as he took another step forward, he could start deriving dark-attributed spirit techniques. Just when Ningqing was about to head to the deck of the starry sky wheel and try out the laws of darkness in the void, the starry sky wheel shook violently. Was someone attacking the starry sky wheel? Or did Chasing Bull let the starry sky wheel hit a meteorite? As Ningqing's spiritual consciousness stretched out, his figure flashed and landed on the deck of the starry sky wheel. Chapter 1394. Get out of here, Ant. If you provoke my master, you're dead. This Grandpa Bull will spare your dog life for the sake of your cultivation. Chasing Bull sat on the starry sky wheel with its fat belly and pointed its hoof at a dark-faced man outside the starry sky wheel's restrictions. It looked a little ridiculous. Ha! A little Dao sculpting beast dares to tell this emperor to get out of here? This emperor wants to see if your meat tastes a little special after I kill you. The dark-faced man laughed, and his aura rose even more. At the same time, he brought out a white bone weapon and blasted it towards the starry sky wheel. Hearing this dark-faced man calling it a beast, Chasing Bull immediately turned furious. If not for the fact that it couldn't beat the other party, it might have already opened the restrictions. The dark-faced man imagined the scene of the starry sky wheel's restrictions shattering under his white bone weapon. But he soon realized that something was wrong. After his white bone weapon blasted down, it didn't give off any Dao charm fluctuations. The starry sky wheel's restrictions, which had shaken under his attack, became completely still after he added the power of his Dao charm. Before he could check it out, he felt a sharp pain in his sea of consciousness. Then he lost contact with his white bone weapon. The next moment he saw a linen-robed youth standing on the deck of the Starry Sky Wheel. The Starry Sky Wheel's defensive restrictions had all opened. What made him break out in a cold sweat was that this linen-robed youth was holding his weapon in his hand, and the other party was looking at him coldly. One had to know that he was a late-stage Dao integration cultivator. Yet, a late-stage Dao integration cultivator's sea of consciousness had been silently cut off and grabbed by someone else. How terrifying was this? Master? Chasing Bull quickly wagged its tail and called out in a flattering tone. It's you? When the dark-faced man's gaze fell on Ning Cheng's face, he spoke up in surprise. Ning Cheng looked at the dark-faced man in doubt. He felt sure that he had never seen this person before or heard this person's voice. This fellow's aura felt a little familiar, but it wasn't very obvious. Do you know me? Ning Cheng asked immediately. The dark-faced man's eyes flashed with a hint of fear and solemnity. He cupped his fists towards Ning Cheng and said, "Back in the perishing Soul Gorge's perpetual moon abyss, I had a deal with Dao Monarch." Ning Cheng instantly understood. You are that wisp of remnant soul under the perpetual moon abyss, and also a trace of consciousness left behind by Jifenyu, right? I didn't expect you to grow to this point. Not only did you condense a body, but you also came out of the perpetual moon abyss. It's truly amazing. Hearing the words of this black-faced man, Ning Cheng immediately remembered. Naturally, the voice of the remnant soul from back then and this fellow who had recovered his physical body would be different. The black-faced man felt extremely shocked. What was Ning Cheng's cultivation when he left the perpetual moon abyss? Now, Ning Cheng could easily take away a Dao integration late-stage Holy Emperor's Dharma treasure. This was simply appalling. If the other party wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. Was it really that heaven-defying to possess a fortune treasure? Many thanks for Dao Lord Ning's help. If not for Dao Lord giving me the mysterious yellow origin and other materials, I would not have been able to get out of the perpetual moon abyss. The black-faced man spoke with a respectful tone. With Ning Cheng's strength, it was obvious that he could kill him in an instant. In front of Ning Cheng, he had to be honest. Ning Cheng nodded. It's a transaction between us. I also want to thank you for the recalling Bodhi seed. That thing helped me a lot. Moreover, you attacked my airship here. Are you trying to block the road and rob me? The black-faced man suddenly felt embarrassed. He had indeed blocked the road and robbed him. After he condensed his physical body and rushed out of the perpetual moon abyss, cultivation resources had become increasingly scarce. As an existence condensed from a trace of consciousness, he had never felt guilty or wronged when it came to things like killing. As long as it could enhance his strength, he would not hesitate to do it. Becoming a void pirate was the easiest way for him to obtain resources. Ning Cheng's complexion immediately turned cold, as he realized that this road robbery had actually happened to his head. Seeing Ning Cheng's expression turn cold, the black-faced man felt anxious. He knew that in front of Ning Cheng's strength, he could forget about escaping. Master, this dog-headed black face wanted to rob our Starry Sky Wheel. If Master hadn't come out of seclusion in time, this fellow would have killed me. Chasing Bull did not hesitate to add oil to the fire. Dao Lord, I really didn't know that this was your airship. Ning Cheng interrupted the other party. If you don't know that it's my airship, how can you rob it? The black-faced man hesitated for a moment before suddenly speaking. Dao Lord, for the sake of the recalling Bodhi seed, please don't care about this matter. In return, I'm willing to tell Dao Lord one thing. Ning Cheng had no intention of killing this black-faced man. The reason he threatened this fellow was to ask about Perpetual Moon Heavenly Emperor. Now hearing the black-faced man's words, he immediately asked, "What is it?" "It's about the Perpetual Moon Abyss. I suspect that there are top-grade treasures in the deepest part of the Perpetual Moon Abyss." The black-faced man said. Ning Cheng asked in doubt, "You've stayed in the Perpetual Moon Abyss for countless years. Even if there is something good in it, will you tell me?" The black-faced man quickly replied, "Dao Lord, you misunderstood. The Perpetual Moon Abyss is a place filled with chaotic auras. Even if Dao Lord entered it in the past, you couldn't survive. How could there be anything good in it?" Ning Cheng understood the meaning behind the black-faced man's words. The perpetual moon abyss was a terrifying place, and almost everyone who entered it would die. If he didn't have the mysterious yellow bead, he would have died after entering it. Because of the mysterious yellow bead, he had used the mysterious yellow bead to temper his spiritual consciousness after entering the perpetual moon abyss. Only after comprehending the spiritual consciousness explosion did he manage to come out of the mysterious yellow bead. What is the treasure you mentioned? Ning Cheng continued to ask. The black-faced man cautiously replied, the perpetual moon abyss is filled with chaotic laws and violent Dao charms. If I didn't have the protection of the defensive array, I wouldn't have survived. Later, because I adapted to the environment inside, I slowly tempered myself to adapt to the violent aura of the perpetual moon abyss. I even managed to control the teleportation array in the perpetual moon abyss. Even so, I didn't dare to go to the deepest part. Tens of thousands of years ago, I felt a violent void collapse coming from the deepest part of the perpetual moon abyss. Even I myself was almost swept away by that collapse. At that time, I felt very worried. Fortunately, the collapse did not sweep me away. At that time, I desperately needed to leave the perpetual moon abyss. It's just that you couldn't condense a corporeal body, right? Ning Cheng suddenly asked. The dark-faced man nodded and explained, that is indeed the case. After you fell into the perpetual moon abyss, I actually found the materials to condense a corporeal body. However, with the help of the mysterious yellow origin, I would be able to reach a higher realm and step into the third step. After I condensed a corporeal body with the help of the mysterious yellow origin, I immediately left the perpetual moon abyss. You didn't go to the deepest part of the perpetual moon abyss to see. What makes you think that there are treasures in the depths of the perpetual moon abyss? Ning Cheng frowned slightly. He didn't believe that this guy was trying to trick him. Even if he went to the perpetual moon abyss, would he be able to catch him? With his current strength, going to the perishing soul gorge again naturally wouldn't be the same as before, where he had to rely on teleportation to leave. Ning Cheng estimated that Ji Fengyu's strength when he set up the perpetual moon abyss was similar to his current strength, or even worse. The black-faced man hurriedly explained, I went to take a look. The further down we go, the stronger the chaotic laws. Towards the end, Ji Fengyu's void teleportation array in the perpetual moon abyss had long since lost its effect. Furthermore, I can vaguely sense the nomological aura that only a top-grade treasure can emit. My strength is too weak, so I can't go down to check. Originally, I planned to go in after creating a boundary. The perpetual moon abyss was located in the perishing soul gorge, a mysterious place within the Jiaoliang mountain. If there were any treasures in it, Ning Cheng would not doubt it. The first good fortune war had started in the Jiaoliang mountain. Who knew if any powerhouses had fallen in it? Should I call you Ji Fengyu now, or something else? Ning Cheng suddenly interrupted the conversation. The black-faced man felt relieved. He knew that Ning Cheng didn't have any intention to kill him and quickly spoke up, although I was a remnant of Ji Fengyu's thoughts, I have nothing to do with Ji Fengyu now. I only know a little bit of Ji Fengyu's memories. I was born in the perpetual moon abyss, so Dao Lord can call me Wang. That's a good name. My name is Ning Cheng. You can lead the way now. Let's go to the perpetual moon abyss. Ning Cheng intended to go to the perpetual moon abyss. He had already planned to return to the Jiaoliang mountain, and the Chaos Realm was right next to the Jiaoliang mountain. Yes, Dao Lord Ning. Wang quickly saluted and boarded Ning Cheng's starry sky wheel without hesitation. From the moment Ning Cheng entered the perishing soul gorge, he knew that Ning Cheng wasn't a person who liked to kill. Otherwise, he wouldn't have saved people in the perishing soul gorge. Wang, did Heavenly Emperor Perpetual Moon Ji Fengyu participate in the first good fortune war? Ning Cheng directly tore open the interface that Chasing Bull couldn't open with talismans and asked casually. Wang sighed. Although Ji Fengyu was very strong, he could only stay at the periphery of the first good fortune war. He saw the opening of the good fortune gate, but he could never get close to it. At that time, he was seriously injured and felt very unwilling. Perpetual moon meant that he wanted to see the good fortune mountain forever. Although Ji Fengyu couldn't intervene in the good fortune war, His strength was top-notch in the periphery of the Good Fortune War. After the Good Fortune War, he still captured many Primordial Chaos Holy Emperors and Tao Unification Holy Emperors. He trapped them in the perishing Soul Gorge. As for what he wanted to do, I still don't know. I think that if Ji Fengyu didn't fall, he would definitely come to the Jiaoyang Mountains perishing Soul Gorge again. So that's the case. Ning Qing nodded and didn't speak again. Seeing Ning Qing fall into contemplation, Wang helped Chasing Bull control the starry sky wheel to speed up. Compared to Ning Cheng's curiosity about the perpetual moon abyss, Wang was more curious about it. Unfortunately, his strength was limited and he couldn't go in. Chapter 1395. Ning Qing didn't know what to think, but he didn't try to use the laws of darkness again. Instead, he let Wang and Chasing Bull control the starry sky wheel to head towards the perpetual moon abyss while he returned to the cabin and went into seclusion to deduce the laws of darkness. Whether it was strength or insight, Chasing Bull could not compare to it. Beneath the perpetual moon abyss, Wang Zhong had come into contact with many jade strips left behind by powerhouses. Coupled with the help of the world's mountains and rivers, the starry sky wheel's speed within the void grew even faster. Dao friend Wang, according to the coordinates of our positional ball, we should be reaching the Jiaoyang Mountain soon, right? Chasing Bull patted Wang's shoulder with its hoof and spoke casually. Wang couldn't wait to cut off Chasing Bull's hooves and stew it. But every time Chasing Bull said that its master pampered it, he would feel a chill down his spine. He had seen Ning Cheng's strength before, it was just too strong. In his memory, Ning Cheng was probably the strongest one. As for the experts of the primeval era during the First Creation War, his memories had long since become blurry. Wang quietly pushed Chasing Bull's hooves away and was just about to speak when he felt a black tide rushing over. At this moment, whether it was his divine sense or his gaze, they both fell into an endless black abyss. An oppressive aura came, making it hard for him to breathe. What was going on? Wang suddenly stood up and exclaimed in surprise. To his horror, he realized that in this darkness, not only was his divine sense and vision blurred, even his Tao aura seemed to have become sticky, as if he couldn't activate it. The perpetual moon abyss was filled with darkness, but he had never seen such a terrifying darkness before. Just when Wang was about to summon his magic weapon to protect himself, the surrounding black tide instantly disappeared. His divine sense became clear, and his eyes could see everything around him. Wang looked at Chasing Bull in doubt. "Brother Chasing Bull, did you notice the darkness just now?" Chasing Bull's panic-stricken eyes told him that this bull had also felt the terrifying darkness a moment ago. "Did you reach the Jiaoyang Mountain?" Ning Cheng's voice arrived just in time. Wang hurriedly turned around and cupped his fists. "Yes, Tao Lord Ning. This is the periphery of Jiaoyang Mountain." After hesitating for a moment, Wang asked, "Tao Lord Ning, that endless and terrifying darkness just now?" Ning Qing replied with a calm voice, "It's nothing. It's just that I've just started to learn a kind of spirit technique. I just wanted to test it out." Wang sucked in a breath of cold air. What kind of divine ability was this? It was so terrifying. It was like two mortals fighting with knives, and one of them was blindfolded by a black cloth. Wang did not dare to think about it anymore. He carefully glanced at Ning Cheng, feeling even more frightened in his heart. In front of Ning Cheng, he was just a blindfolded ant. Back then, he was just an ant in front of him, but now he was an existence that he could only look up to. "Come out of the starry sky wheel. Let's go directly to the perpetual moon abyss in the fallen Soul Gorge." With that, Ning Cheng waited for Wang and Chasing Bull to come out before raising his hand and putting away the starry sky wheel. Because of Wang's sudden appearance, Ning Cheng had to put aside the matter of finding the starry sky wheel's artifact spirit. At a time like this, a top-grade magic treasure was equivalent to a life. If the good fortune indestructible axe was given to him, even if he had to face Xing Shi, he might not necessarily have to escape. Now, more and more experts were gathering in the beyond of heaven and earth, and more experts were coming from the Jiaoyang Mountain. Ning Cheng worried that someone might have entered the perpetual moon abyss before him and taken away even better things. Given his current strength, There weren't many people in this universe who could chase after him and force him to flee. The Starry Sky Wheel's artifact spirit was only useful to him. But the perpetual moon abyss contained treasures, which would attract anyone. Chasing Bull felt very proud. Master didn't let it enter the mysterious yellow bead, which was equivalent to letting it go for a ride outside. Ning Cheng knew Chasing Bull's temperament and knew that it loved lively scenes. Ning Cheng decided to let Chasing Bull stay outside for the sake of controlling the airship for so many years. Yes. Wang quickly led the way. As an existence that had stayed under the perpetual moon abyss for countless years, it was too familiar with the perpetual moon abyss. Dao Lord Ning? A sudden voice called out to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness had already swept over and found an acquaintance, Mu Zhuxiao. Mu Zhuxiao was the leader of the Grand Change Pill Meat and the #1 expert in Grand Change Pill refining. He was also the founder of the 5 Realms Pill Meat, which made Ning Cheng very familiar with him. Compared to his master, Ao Beijiang, Mu Zhuxiao had a much better character. It turns out to be Union Master Mu. I haven't seen you for many years. Congratulations on reaching the next level. Ning Cheng stopped and cupped his fists towards Mu Zhuxiao. When he first saw Mu Zhuxiao, he was still a half-step Dao integration cultivator. Now, Mu Zhuxiao was at the peak of the early stage Dao integration and was about to step into the middle stage Dao integration. From this, Ning Cheng could tell that Mu Zhuxiao had not only encountered many opportunities but had also gone all out in his cultivation. Mu Zhuxiao showed a bitter smile. I thought that I had obtained some opportunities in the Jiaoyang mountain, and my cultivation speed was fast. But now, compared to elder brother Ning, I know that my achievements are nothing at all. Ning Cheng then realized that Mu Zhuxiao had also obtained some opportunities in the Jiaoyang mountain, which made him want to go to the perpetual moon abyss as soon as possible. At this time, more and more experts came to the Jiaoyang mountain. Since the mysterious yellow heavens beyond was open to the public, experts from all over the world naturally knew that there were many good things here. I went to the Grand Essence Realm to look for Dao Lord Ning, but I couldn't find him. I had no choice but to come to the Jiaoyang mountain to continue improving my strength. Mu Zhuxiao saw that Ning Cheng didn't want to talk anymore and quickly spoke up. Ning Cheng asked in confusion, "May I know why Guild Master Mu is looking for me?" He and Mu Zhuxiao could only be considered acquaintances, but their friendship was very ordinary. Mu Zhuxiao quickly said, "Dao Lord Ning, do you still remember the Great Change Realm's underground abyss?" Dao Lord Ning sealed the 10 abyss devils under the Scorched Tree Temple. Ning Cheng nodded. "I remember. Is there a problem with the seal?" Even if Mu Zhuxiao hadn't mentioned it, Ning Cheng had planned to go to the Great Change Realm to find Shi Qianghua and bring her back to the Grand Essence Realm. Back then, he hadn't been strong enough, so he hadn't said much. After comprehending the Dark Law, his strength had also reached the peak of the late-stage Dao integration realm. An ordinary third-step expert was nothing in his eyes. He believed that he had the ability to help Shi Qianghua reach the third step and successfully create a realm. Moreover, the Gate of Fortune was about to open for the second time. Ning Cheng didn't want Shi Qianghua to get hurt because he wasn't by her side. Mu Zhuxiao said solemnly, "Yes, the seal has loosened a little. I went to look for Dao Lord to strengthen the seal again." Ning Cheng suddenly frowned, pondering for a moment before asking, "How long can the seal last?" Mu Zhuxiao replied, "According to my estimation, it will last for 100 years at most. After 100 years, the seal will definitely crack. With the current strength of the Great Change Realm, I'm afraid that it can no longer suppress the 10 abyss devils." Ning Cheng understood Mu Zhuxiao's words. After more than 10,000 years, the 10 abyss devils must have grown stronger. Ning Cheng relaxed a little. "Union Master Mu, I'm going to Jiaoyang Mountain to take care of some things. I'll be back in a few years. When I come back, I'll immediately go to the Great Change Realm. As for the abyss devils, there's no need to continue suppressing them." Mu Zhuxiao looked at Ning Cheng in surprise. Ning Cheng patted Mu Zhuxiao's shoulder. "I'll go and destroy them in one go." Whether it was status or strength, Ning Cheng patted Mu Zhuxiao's shoulder now. Moreover, Ning Cheng wasn't talking nonsense when he said that he would destroy them in one go. With his current strength, he didn't even need anyone's help to destroy the underground demonic creatures in one go. Unless there was a powerhouse like Xing Shi among the underground demonic creatures, but such a possibility was very small. In case something happened, he could just continue to seal it. Looking at Ning Cheng's back as he instantly entered Jiaoliang Mountain with a man and a bowl, Mu Zuoxiao took a long time to recover. Thinking about how Ning Cheng's strength could compare to the sacred Dao sect's sect master, he suddenly felt a little more confident. One had to know that his nominal master, Ao Beijiang, couldn't even block a single blade from the sacred Dao sect's sect master. Perpetual Moon Abyss. This was Ning Cheng's second time coming here. The first time, he came in by accident. Later, he relied on his understanding of the sunset's twilight spirit technique in the Sea of Twilight and his deal with Wang to leave this place. This time, he felt much more relaxed compared to the first time. Back under the perpetual moon abyss, the violent aura forced him to temper his spiritual consciousness. Then, through the spiritual consciousness explosion spirit technique, he opened up a space for himself. Now that his domain protected Chasing Bull, it felt much easier under the perpetual moon abyss. The violent aura in the perpetual moon abyss had grown stronger than before, but Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness could still easily sweep out. With Ning Cheng's current strength, his spiritual consciousness inside the perpetual moon abyss was almost no different from the outside. Even so, he couldn't sweep into the deepest part of the perpetual moon abyss. However, Ning Cheng believed in Wang. The deeper his spiritual consciousness went, the more he could feel traces of space collapsing. This showed that Wang didn't lie. Most likely, a void collapse had occurred at the bottom of the perpetual moon abyss. You lead the way, I'll follow behind. Ning Cheng gave a signal to Wang. Yes, Dao Lord Ning. Wang didn't hesitate to descend. He could feel Ning Cheng's domain protecting his body. Once something happened to him, Ning Cheng would definitely help him. Compared to the time when he came down alone, it was much safer. The violent space above the perpetual moon abyss was under Wang's control, allowing him to descend at an extremely fast speed. But after 2 days, his speed slowed down. Even with the help of Ning Cheng's domain, he found it extremely difficult to move forward. It was like diving. The deeper one went, the greater the pressure of the water. This place wasn't water, but a kind of violent law tearing and void collapsing. All kinds of fragmented law auras mixed together, making every step forward more difficult. At first, Ning Cheng thought that no matter how difficult it would take him at most a month to reach the bottom of the perpetual moon abyss. But after descending for a year, the violent aura grew more and more difficult to resist. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness still couldn't sweep to the bottom. Ning Cheng understood that the perpetual moon abyss was not just a simple treasure. Ji Fengyu didn't know that this place was this deep. The violent space below should have appeared after that collapse. Wang, under Ning Cheng's protection, felt Ning Cheng's worries and spoke up in a timely manner. Chapter 1396. The deeper they went, the more powerful the violent Dao charm around them became. Fortunately, the increase was very low, which Ning Cheng could still resist. There were several times when Ning Cheng wanted to stop and go back first, but he held himself back. There was a saying that went, the nearer to a journey of 100 miles was the 90-mile. Perhaps as long as he took another step forward, he would reach the end. Just like this, the three of them walked for nearly 30 years. Ning Cheng finally couldn't help it and decided to give up. This perpetual moon abyss was like a bottomless pit. No matter how deep they went, they couldn't reach the end. As a Dao-proving powerhouse, a few decades of lifespan was indeed nothing to him, and it was nothing at all. Ning Cheng couldn't stand this endless dive. He decided to give up for now and wait until he reached the third step before coming back. Dao Lord Ning, I feel that the violent Dao charm here doesn't seem to be increasing. Instead, it seems to have decreased a bit. Sensing Ning Cheng's speed slowing down, Wang promptly spoke out his observation. He led the way alone. Although Ning Cheng's domain protected him, he could still extend his spiritual consciousness to observe. Ning Cheng's heart moved. Sure enough, the violent aura around him had weakened a bit. It was almost undetectable, but he didn't want to continue, so he didn't care about it. Wang had been in the perpetual moon abyss for many years, so he was very sensitive to the violent aura here. Ningqing gave up on the idea of retreating and instead sped up his pace. Sure enough, the further down he went, the weaker the violent aura became. After another half a year, Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness suddenly touched a domain barrier. What was going on? Ningcheng immediately felt sure that he had reached the end. What made him feel strange was that this layer of domain barrier was also faintly discernible to him. A few days later, Ningcheng stopped. Although there was still a void in front of him, Ningcheng knew that it was just a distorted space. If he went any further, it would be equivalent to going back. The place he was at should be the bottom of the perpetual moon abyss. Unfortunately, after decades of rushing, there were no weapons below. There was only a void, and sometimes he couldn't feel the edge of the domain, which was indeed depressing. It looks like there are no weapons here. As Ningcheng spoke, he concentrated his spiritual consciousness. When the vague domain barrier appeared in his spiritual consciousness, Ningcheng raised his hand and grabbed it. The domain barrier moved slightly, but did not loosen in the slightest. Feeling the fluctuations in the void, Chasing Bull spoke up in surprise. "Master, this interface looks very tough." Although Chasing Bull couldn't sense the void realm, it knew that Ningcheng's grasp could tear apart even the strongest realm boundary. But now, under Ningcheng's grasp, it could only feel slight fluctuations in the surrounding space. Didn't this mean that this place was very hard? Wang's spiritual consciousness also couldn't feel the domain barrier in front of him, which also made him aware of what Ningcheng was doing. After listening to Chasing Bull's words, he shook his head and said, "I'm afraid this is not a plane. It's most likely a very high-level positional plane. Unfortunately, I'm too weak. I can't sense it." Ningcheng did not speak. His spiritual consciousness once again touched the barrier in front of him. The bounded domain in front of him was still faintly discernible, causing Ningcheng to give a dark sigh in his heart. This was definitely because his cultivation was still too weak. He had a starry sky sea of consciousness, which meant that his spiritual consciousness was so strong that even ordinary creation world powerhouses could not compare to it. Since he couldn't sense it, those ordinary creation realm powerhouses shouldn't be able to sense it either. Fortunately, he could still faintly feel the domain barrier. Alas, after running around for a few decades, it ended up in vain. "Little Wang, there's something wrong with your judgment. It's not a big deal for an idler like me to run around for a few decades, but my master has many important things to do. Yet he ended up being fooled by you." Chasing Bull spoke sarcastically from the side, and even the way it addressed Ningcheng had changed. Wang didn't know what it meant by fooling, but thinking about it, it shouldn't be anything good. Therefore, he spoke up with some displeasure. "Dao friend Chasing Bull, you should have said that you're an idler, not an idler. As for whether there are any treasures below, how would I know about it?" Chasing Bull, on seeing that Wang wanted to argue with it, suddenly felt refreshed. What it feared the most was not that someone would argue with it, but that no one would argue with it. "Little Wang, you're wrong." Unfortunately, Chasing Bull had only spoken a few words when Ningcheng raised his hand and stopped the topic. "Don't talk." Chasing Bull, on hearing its master's words, quickly shrank its head and closed its mouth, not daring to speak again. Ningcheng had indeed found a pattern. When his mysterious yellow origin aura merged with his spiritual consciousness, he could touch the boundary between worlds in front of him. Once he used his spiritual consciousness to scan the boundary in front of him, he couldn't see anything at all. This place shouldn't be a boundary or a positional plane, but a new kind of boundary. After a long while, Ningcheng finally spoke up in a deep voice. "What is that place?" Wang and Chasing Bull asked at the same time. "If I'm not wrong, this should be the cosmic surface." Ningcheng spoke with a deep voice. "Cosmic surface?" Chasing Bull felt puzzled. It didn't even know what the cosmic surface was. Wang immediately asked, "Dao Lord Ning, you mean if we go through here, we will reach another universe?" He had experienced countless years under the perpetual moon abyss and had seen the memories of many fallen powerhouses. Therefore, he naturally had a deeper understanding of the cosmic surface compared to Chasing Bull. Little Wang, what is another universe? Chasing Bull scratched its ears and cheeks in anxiety. Wang wasn't in the mood to pay attention to Chasing Bull's address and spoke with a solemn tone. Rumor has it that after the primordial chaos of our side of the universe first formed, it was formed by the condensation of the 5 elements. However, the other universe is formed by the condensation of the 2 laws of light and dark. Ning Qing nodded secretly. Wang's statement was similar to Kong Zai's. But since there were 2 universes, who knew if there was a 3rd universe? Dao friend Wang, can we go through it? Chasing Bull immediately changed its address after knowing that Wang understood about the 2 universes. It wanted to see all kinds of novel things the most. Since there was a new universe here, how could it not want to go and have a look? Wang shook his head. I'm afraid not. I heard that only creation realm powerhouses have a chance to open the cosmic surface. I'm afraid we can't do it. Dao Lord Ning, as long as you step into the 3rd step creation realm, you might also be able to go in. How do we get in? Ning Qing asked in doubt. He indeed wanted to go in and have a look, but he knew that it would be difficult to open the cosmic surface with his current ability. Even if he reached the creation realm, he might not be able to tear this place apart. As for the universes derived from the laws of darkness and light, Ning Qing only knew about them. As for the other things, Ning Qing didn't know anything about them. Wang explained, Dao Lord Ning has the mysterious yellow bead, and the mysterious yellow bead is not blocked by the boundaries of the universes. At that time, Dao Lord can enter the other universe from this place with the help of the mysterious yellow bead. Why can't you do it now? Ning Qing asked again. Because although Dao Lord is powerful, he can't shake the cosmic surface. Even with the help of the mysterious yellow bead, he would have to shake the cosmic surface before he could enter. Ning Qing understood what Wang meant. It was telling him that his current strength was a little weak. Even if he tried to grab the cosmic surface with all his strength, he could only shake the cosmic surface slightly. By the time he stepped into the 3rd step, his strength would be enough to shake the cosmic surface. Although he couldn't tear it apart, he could make the cosmic surface form enough fluctuations to affect the mysterious yellow bead. After understanding this, Ning Qing knew that he should be able to enter the other universe now. With his current strength, he indeed couldn't tear apart the cosmic surface. However, he could use the Dao of array formation attacks to achieve the same effect as his 3rd step Dao confirming cultivator. It was just that it would take a longer time. I have a way to go in now. Wang, do you want to go in with me or leave? Ning Qing thought about his darkness-attributed laws. If he could go to the universe where the darkness origin existed, he could definitely go further. He now had a certain control over the laws of darkness, but compared to Dao Lord Darkness, he was like a baby learning how to walk. In the future, Dao Lord Darkness would also have to go to the gate of good fortune. If he relied on the darkness-attributed spirit technique he learned from Dao Lord Darkness to deal with Dao Lord Darkness, it would be a joke. Wang spoke up without hesitation, I'm willing to go in. Many thanks, Dao Lord Ning, for carrying me. Wang himself was a wisp of consciousness. For him, everything else was nothingness. Only the great Dao was his ultimate goal. What's more, he had to go in. If Ning Qing went in with his current strength, he wouldn't be able to climb out of the perpetual moon abyss. Okay, in that case, let's start arranging the breaking boundary array. Ning Qing said immediately. Wang had stayed in the perpetual moon abyss for many years. Moreover, the perpetual moon abyss already had all kinds of grand arrays. Wang's attainments in the Dao of array formations naturally weren't low, which would help him. Dao Lord wants to use the breaking boundary array to weaken the surface of the universe and then use the mysterious yellow bead to go in? Wang immediately understood Ning Qing's intention. Yes. Ning Qing didn't hide it. He knew that Wang would definitely participate. I'm willing to contribute. I've accumulated a bunch of materials over the years, which I can use to arrange the breaking boundary array. Wang quickly spoke up. He had obtained a lot of things over the years, but he had already used up all the things he could use for cultivation. As for the materials that couldn't be used for cultivation, they piled up in his world. After Wang agreed, Ning Cheng took out a bunch of materials and started refining array flags. An ordinary breaking boundary array wasn't much. It was just like refining a breaking boundary talisman. With Ning Cheng's strength, he could easily arrange it. Breaking the breaking boundary array over the surface of the universe wasn't a simple matter. Even with Ning Cheng's Dao of Array, with Wang's help, it took him 7 or 8 years to arrange it. Dao Lord Ning, what should I do next? After seeing Ning Cheng's method of arranging the breaking boundary array, Wang understood that he couldn't even compare to Ning Cheng when it came to the Dao of Array. Now that the breaking boundary array was complete, he might need Ning Cheng's help when it came to activating the breaking boundary array. Ning Cheng grabbed a handful of array flags and said to Wang and Chasing Bull, "You don't have to do anything next. Just enter the mysterious yellow bead. When I activate the breaking boundary array, we can directly enter the other side of the universe." Chapter 1397. After sending Wang and Chasing Bull into the mysterious yellow bead, Ning Cheng threw out dozens of array flags, and a violent Dao charm power blasted out. The moment he threw out the array flag, Ning Cheng immediately entered the mysterious yellow bead. The mysterious yellow bead then shot into the explosion point of the breaking boundary array. The moment he rushed into the surface of the universe, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness, which had fallen outside the mysterious yellow bead, found itself swept away by a vast force and could not stay outside for even a moment. Not knowing for how long, Ning Cheng wanted to sweep out with his spiritual consciousness once again, but found that his spiritual consciousness could not penetrate out of the mysterious yellow bead. Ning Cheng was shocked in his heart. If he could not use his spiritual consciousness, then it meant that he would remain in this place forever. Half of the 100 years that he had agreed on with Mu Zuoxiao were about to pass. How could he continue to stay in this place? Thinking of this, Ning Cheng quickly fused the laws of darkness into his spiritual consciousness and swept out again. This time, without any accident, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness fell outside the mysterious yellow bead. He felt relieved and quickly brought Chasing Bull and Wang out of the mysterious yellow bead. As soon as he came out of the mysterious yellow bead, Ning Cheng felt a slight warmth on his wrist. However, it immediately disappeared. Ning Cheng did not care about it. What he cared about was that this universe he had come from was indeed a universe born of the darkness and light laws. If he had not grasped a portion of the laws of darkness, it would have been difficult for him to escape. The place where he landed was not within the void as Ning Cheng had expected, but a boundless land. This piece of land had mountains and water, as well as light. It did not look any different from any interface Ning Cheng had seen before, but Ning Cheng's heart slowly sank. He had clearly come in from the void plane, but he couldn't feel any void plane in this place. In other words, there was no way back. There was no void where he was, only land and the sky. He could see 2 suns floating in the sky with his naked eyes, not to mention the void plane. What Ning Cheng cared about was not the 2 suns, but that his spiritual consciousness could only be used when he fused with the laws of darkness. His strength was also close to nothing. Apart from the darkness rule, he could not sense any other rule aura. In this universe, other than the darkness laws that he had just mastered, the laws that he had previously mastered were completely inapplicable. If he had to start cultivating again, it would be over. Ning Cheng tried to operate the mysterious yellow formless, and soon understood what was going on. At his level of strength, he could vaguely sense that the origin attributes here were indeed darkness and light. As for the other elemental laws, they were derived from these 2 types of laws. He came from a universe derived from the 5 elements laws. After a period of adaptation, he would be able to completely control the heaven and earth laws here and recover his strength. It's just an ordinary place, nothing special about it. Not to mention weapons, I didn't even see a single spiritual grass. Chasing Bull spoke with disappointment. Wang sneered, "You really are a bull. You still haven't reacted. Can you use your divine sense and divine essence here?" "Huh, I really can't use it." Chasing Bull finally reacted. Although it liked to stay outside, it also needed to have a certain level of strength. Now that it had no strength, what fun could it have? Master? Chasing Bull looked at Ning Cheng. It didn't want to wander around in this broken place and wanted to leave as soon as possible. Ning Cheng waved his hand. We have to leave this place. First, we have to restore our strength. Second, we have to find a way to leave this place. Ning Cheng felt some regret in his heart. He didn't regret coming here, but regretted coming here at this time. How could it be so easy to find a universe's universe surface? Even at the bottom of the perpetual moon abyss, he had only found it by accident. If he couldn't go to the Grand Change Realm within 100 years, he could only imagine the fate of the Grand Change Realm. Ning Cheng sighed. He still controlled some laws of darkness, which meant that his strength hadn't fallen to the lowest level. It's just that it would be a bit difficult to go to the Grand Change Realm within 100 years. The only concern was that he didn't know when he could recover his cultivation. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng started operating the mysterious yellow formless. In just a few breaths, Ning Cheng felt the various elemental laws between heaven and earth, especially the laws of darkness and the laws of light. That bastard really did leave something behind. Ning Cheng cursed in his heart as soon as he felt the darkness attributes in this place. The laws of darkness that Tao Lord Darkness gave him contained 9 truths and 1 falsehood. Not only did it completely strip away the origin aura of the darkness attribute, but it also lacked the Tao charm aura of the 5 elements. According to the laws of darkness that Tao Lord Darkness gave him, no matter how smart he was, no matter how long he spent, he wouldn't be able to block Tao Lord Darkness's laws of darkness spirit technique. In the final analysis, what he learned was just the surface, while what the other party grasped was the essence. Ning Cheng sighed. If he hadn't come to this side of the universe, he would have made a huge profit. But after coming to this side of the universe, he realized that he was an idiot at that time. He actually used a bestowing lawless fruit and a clump of stabilizing soil to exchange for this thing. Moreover, he still thought that even if Tao Lord Darkness increased the price, he could still accept it. Most likely, in the eyes of Tao Lord Darkness, he was an idiot. Tao Lord Ning, what should we do now? Seeing Ning Cheng not speaking for a long time, he took the initiative to ask. If Ning Cheng didn't have a good solution, he planned to stay and find a place to slowly start cultivating again. For him, he had plenty of time. At worst, he could just start over again. Let's get out of here first. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out and found an endless open space. As for the void behind the sun, his spiritual consciousness couldn't sweep it at all. The heaven and earth essence chi here was also different from the 5-element universe. It had an aura of the laws of darkness and light. Although he could cultivate the mysterious yellow formless cultivation method, Ning Cheng didn't plan to do so right now. He had to revise the mysterious yellow formless cultivation method before he could cultivate in this place. Ning Cheng, Wang and Chasing Bull walked for nearly 10 days but didn't see a single person. However, the weather kept getting hotter and hotter, and the sky, which originally had 2 suns, now had another sun. Chasing Bull's cultivation had completely disappeared, and it couldn't even compare to Wang. If not for fear that its master wouldn't take it out for a stroll next time, it would have even asked to enter the mysterious yellow bead. This place is vast and sparsely populated, completely different from the void of our side of the universe. This place seems to be a continent without any planets. After so many days, Wang's spiritual consciousness could barely stretch out. Ning Cheng said, "Not necessarily. It's just that our current strength is limited, and our spiritual consciousness can't penetrate this place. It's just like when we were weak and lived on a continent. Once we grow strong enough, we can rush out of this plane and feel the vastness of the void." After more than 10 days, Ning Cheng's mysterious yellow formless gradually adapted to the laws of heaven and earth here. With his strength, it would only take a few years for him to fully recover. A few years, however, was not a long time for him. Ta! A burst of hoofbeats arrived. Ning Cheng and the others saw a person coming out from the left side of the hill. It was a man wearing a strange hat. He was sitting on the back of an animal that did not look like a horse, nor did it look like a cow. On the back of this animal, there was a huge package. Moreover, a scimitar without a sheath hung on his back. The package exuded a bloody aura, and in this hot weather, it gave off an unpleasant stench. When this person saw Ning Cheng and the others with a cow, he immediately became cautious. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness fell on this person and caught a strange Dao charm fluctuation from him. However, this Dao charm wasn't even worth mentioning in front of Ning Cheng. Even if Ning Cheng hadn't started to integrate the Dao charm of the laws of darkness and light, he could easily kill this person. This friend, please wait a moment. May I ask where the nearest city is? Ning Cheng took a few steps forward and asked with cupped fists not far from the man. His spiritual consciousness swept through the man's package and found that it contained some low-level demonic beast skins and some beast bones. The man saw Ning Cheng speeding up and was about to pull out his knife. After hearing Ning Cheng's question, he was slightly startled and immediately replied, "It's Tanza Point. Don't you know Tanza Point?" Ning Cheng spoke with an awkward expression, "We come from the mortal world and don't know anything about the outside world. I hope this friend can give us some pointers." Hearing Ning Cheng say that he came from the mortal world, the man's expression relaxed a lot. Then he said, "Tanza Point belongs to the king's territory. Once you get there, you will be able to broaden your horizons." Wang's strength was almost non-existent, and he couldn't see through Ning Cheng's strength at all. As for Chasing Bull, it was just a beast. What is the king's territory? Ning Cheng didn't know that the mortal world that he casually mentioned fit the description of this place. The man smiled, "You come from the mortal world, so it's normal that you don't know about the king's territory. My radiant heavens is divided into sacred domain, god domain, emperor domain, king's territory, and mortal domain. Tanza Point belongs to the Moran king's territory." Perhaps the man had been traveling alone for a long time, coupled with the fact that his strength far surpassed Ning Cheng's. Once he started to talk, he spoke without any scruples. Half a day later, Ning Cheng added some of his own speculations and finally understood what was going on. As for how big this universe was, this person obviously didn't know. He only knew that there were two heavens in this continent. One was the radiant heavens, and the other was the dark heavens. Whether it was the radiant heavens or the dark heavens, both had a strict hierarchy. Those who couldn't cultivate, or those with the weakest cultivation, lived in the mortal domain. The essence chi in this place was thin, and natural disasters abounded. After that, it was divided into king's domain, emperor's domain, god's domain, and sage's domain. The Tanza Point they were about to go to was a place under the Moran king's territory, similar to a city. This man was just a rogue cultivator-hunter, specializing in hunting some low-level demonic beasts and then selling them at the Tanza Point. As for whether there were more planets and voids outside the radiant heavens and the dark heavens, this man didn't know. Ning Cheng felt relieved. He decided to go to the Tanza Point first and buy some cultivation jade strips related to the laws of darkness to understand it. Once he understood the laws of darkness, he would immediately look for a place to leave this place. Perhaps this universe also had peerless powerhouses, but it had nothing to do with him. The most important thing for him now was to snatch the gate of good fortune. "My name is Luo En, how should I address the two of you?" After the man finished, he felt that Ning Cheng and Wang were good listeners, so his tone became even more enthusiastic. "My name is Ning Cheng." Ning Cheng had just said these 4 words when he heard a roar. He looked up and was about to ask Luo En what was going on when he saw Luo En's face turn pale. Luo En turned around and jumped down from the 2 odd beasts, forcibly pulling the 2 odd beasts to the side. Chapter 1398. Ning Cheng reacted quickly and had already pulled Chasing Bull and Wang to the side of the road. The roar came from a group of people rushing over from the right side of the road, led by a huge unicorn with a height of more than 10 feet and a length of 5 meters. This unicorn had a snow-white body and exuded a strong light-attributed aura. Ning Cheng guessed that this unicorn's spirit technique should be light-attributed. Behind this unicorn were dozens of men and women riding on various demonic beasts. These people also exuded light-attributed law aura. Ning Cheng did not extend his spiritual consciousness. His spiritual consciousness needed to fuse with the laws of darkness before he could extend it. This place was called Bright Heaven, and these people seemed to cultivate light-attributed laws. In case Bright Heaven's people killed cultivators cultivating darkness-attributed laws on sight, he would have no one to say anything about it. This group of people rushed all the way, leaving behind a trail of dust. Although they looked powerful, Ning Cheng found it funny in his heart. Even if Chasing Bull's strength was not at its peak, it could still easily kill these people. If he were at his peak, he could even stomp his feet and turn these people into ashes. Ning Cheng thought that if they stopped on the side of the road, this group of people would quickly pass by. But Ning Cheng did not expect that just as the snow-white unicorn passed by, a ray of light suddenly swept over. Ning Cheng could feel that this ray of light did not contain any killing intent, so he did not do anything. Then he saw Ron's package hanging on the two odd beasts being swept away. Ron's face suddenly turned pale, and his lips trembled a little. However, he did not speak to stop it. Ning Cheng still did not do anything. He knew what was in Ron's package. It was just some animal skins and bones that were worthless to him. To be honest, if these things were thrown in front of him, he would not even bother to bend down to pick them up. Ha! With a soft cry, the group of people, who should have roared past them, suddenly stopped. Even the unicorn that was sprinting at the very front suddenly stopped. A woman in red came down from a tall horse and deliberately walked in front of Ning Cheng. She looked at Ning Cheng up and down for a while before asking, "Where are you from?" Ning Cheng spoke up calmly, "We are from the Mortal Village and are going to Tanza Point to see if there are any good opportunities." To be honest, other than a pair of bright and eye-catching eyes, this woman in red had an ordinary appearance. There was nothing attractive about her. Ning Cheng could also see that this scarlet-robed woman should be the leader of this team. Not bad. You have guts. You can speak so calmly in front of me. The red-robed woman nodded before continuing to ask, "So, you don't know who I am?" Ning Cheng found it funny in his heart. Not to mention who this woman was, even if the first sacred master of the radiant heavens came, he, Ning Cheng, would still speak calmly. "I don't know." Ning Cheng did not want to get involved, and spoke in a calm tone. The red-robed woman smiled faintly. "My name is Liz, a princess of the Moran Kingdom. I see that you are not bad. You are very calm and can be my bodyguard. Step forward and come with me." Ning Cheng remained calm. Asking him, a Dao lord of a realm, to be the bodyguard of a princess? This Liz really dared to dream about it. After hearing the woman in red's words, not only did Ron's face turn paler, but even his body trembled slightly. "Sorry, I think it's good to be free. I don't want to be someone else's guard." Ning Cheng naturally did not hesitate to refuse. If these people still wanted to use force, then he did not mind killing them all. "How dare you!" An angry roar rang out, followed by a burly man with a wide saber in his hand. It seemed that as long as Ning Cheng said anything wrong, this man would immediately chop him down. Liz did not get angry. Instead, she waved her hand, gesturing for the big man to step back. She then said, "My patience is very limited. I chose you because you have a very strong self-confidence, and also because I feel a trace of familiarity from you." Familiarity? Ning Cheng looked at Liz again in doubt. He was sure that he had never seen this woman before. Moreover, this woman could not be the reincarnation of an acquaintance. Liz nodded. "That's right, it's a sense of familiarity. When I went to the first sacred region of the radiant heavens, I felt a powerful intent in the five-colored splitter Star Plaza. And on your body, just now, there was actually such a similar intent. Although I can't feel it now, I believe that as long as you follow me, your future achievements will be unparalleled." Five-colored splitter Star Plaza? Ning Cheng's heart suddenly thumped. He suddenly remembered that when he first arrived here, he felt a slight warmth on his wrist, but he didn't care about it at that time. Now that he heard the words five-colored splitter Star Plaza, he immediately thought of the five-colored star splitter arrow. That slight warmth on his wrist was the location of the five-colored star splitter arrow. Now that he heard the words five-colored splitter Star Plaza, he immediately connected the dots. Ning Cheng knew the power of the five-colored star splitter arrow too well. Even if he was now at the peak late-stage Dao integration realm, the five-colored star splitter arrow still had a powerful effect on him. Could this five-colored star splitter star plaza be the location of the five-colored star splitter bow? Moreover, his five-colored star splitter arrow was still missing a bow. If he combined the bow and arrow into one, even if he faced Xing Shi, this woman would have to suffer. Ning Cheng turned cautious, and his eyes changed as he looked at Liz. This woman's cultivation wasn't high enough, so she was very sensitive to this kind of feeling. Princess Liz, may I ask what kind of place the five-colored splitter star plaza is? Ning Cheng asked with cupped fists. This was the first time Ning Cheng had cupped his fists. Liz nodded, feeling very satisfied with Ning Cheng's change. She then said proudly, as long as you perform well, you will also have the opportunity to go to the sacred region to see the five-colored splitter star plaza. That is the pride of my Bright Tomorrow sect. Back then, my Bright Tomorrow sect fought against Dark Heaven, and the sacred lord of my Bright Tomorrow sect killed Dark Heaven's #1 expert and took the five-colored star splitter bow. To commemorate that battle, my Bright Tomorrow sect sealed the bow in the first sacred region square of my Bright Tomorrow sect, which was later renamed the five-colored star splitter square. Wasn't the five-colored star splitter bow lost during the Good Fortune War? How could it appear in this universe's dark heaven? Ning Cheng suddenly felt confused. He quickly recovered. For him, it didn't matter how the five-colored star splitter bow appeared here. What mattered most was how he could take the five-colored star splitter bow away. If he had the five-colored star splitter bow, even if he hadn't reached the third step, he wouldn't have needed to arrange a boundary-breaking array to enter this place. With just one arrow, the mysterious yellow bead could enter this universe. What do you think? Do I have limited time? Liz frowned when she saw Ning Cheng not speaking for a long time. Ning Cheng quickly spoke up, I'm willing to be the princess guard, but I have to settle my friend down first before I can report to the palace master's mansion. Ning Cheng had long since noticed Ron's trembling. Although he didn't care about Liz's cultivation, he had to figure out the real strength behind Liz. This was a universe he had just come into contact with, a new world that he didn't know about at all. He had to be careful. Okay, I still have 3 days left in Tanza Point. The Tanza Point's General Affairs Office will be my temporary residence. I hope you can report there as soon as possible. After Liz finished, she turned around and mounted her tall horse beast. With a wave of her hand, she took the group of people and rolled away once again. In just a blink of an eye, they disappeared, leaving behind a cloud of dust. Ning Cheng didn't even look at the spiritual consciousness imprint that Liz left on him. Instead, he looked at Ron and asked, Brother Ron, have you heard of this Princess Liz? Ron's trembling body finally calmed down a bit, except for his pale face. Friend Ning, alas. After hesitating for a moment, he said, Do you know who that Liz is? Isn't she the princess of the Moran Kingdom's domain? Ning Cheng asked in doubt. Ron shook his head. If she really is the princess of the Moran Kingdom's domain, I would suggest that you run away now. Why run away? Ning Cheng felt even more puzzled. Ron looked in the direction where Liz disappeared and sighed. That woman is a... At this point, he subconsciously stopped talking. Ning Cheng took out a low-rank spirit artifact long knife and handed it to Ron. Brother Ron, I accidentally obtained this during a hunt. I'll give it to you now. This is... Ron excitedly grabbed the long knife that Ning Cheng handed to him and trembled once again. A spirit artifact. No, maybe it's a sacred artifact. Ning Cheng looked at Ron's expression and knew that Ron had never seen such a treasure before. Unfortunately, he didn't know the difference between the spirit artifacts here and the spirit artifacts in his universe. In fact, this low-rank spirit artifact was one of the worst things in Ning Cheng's ring. Ron's cultivation was too weak, so he could only give him this kind of thing. Moreover, from Ron's words, Ning Cheng also understood that the level of artifact crafting in this place was very low. No wonder the five-colored star splitter bow was worshipped by the first sacred region of radiant brightness. Something like the five-colored star splitter bow was probably the top-grade treasure in this place. I don't know what it is. I'm too weak, so I'll give it to you. You're a hunter, and this weapon is more important to you than to me. Ning Cheng said casually. Ron's eyes changed a few times, but Ning Cheng pretended not to see it. He saw Ron's killing intent towards him. Fortunately, he managed to suppress it in the end. It seemed that this fellow still had a bottom line. This bottom line saved Ron's life. After a while, Ron carefully wrapped the low-rank spirit artifact in a cloth, bowed to Ning Cheng and said, "Brother Ning, I'll leave immediately after answering your questions. Brother Ning, please don't tell anyone about this knife. Once it comes out, I'll definitely lose my life." Ning Cheng spoke with a solemn tone. "Brother Ron, rest assured. I will never tell anyone about it." Ron responded and said that Liz is actually the daughter of the Warsong Empire's Emperor Jianggong. Her status is even higher than that of the Moran Kingdom's king. However, that woman is a slut. I don't know how many innocent men have died in her bed, but she enjoys it. As long as she takes a fancy to a man, she will turn him into her guard, and then... Ning Cheng understood it without saying anything else. Chapter 1399. After Ron left, Ning Cheng learned about Liz's origins from him. She came to the Moran Kingdom because she fancied the son of the Moran Kingdom's king, Sha Xian. However, Sha Xian's son died of illness on Liz's way. Sha Xian, worried about the Warsong Empire's Emperor Jianggong, recognized Liz as his younger sister. At the same time, he made Liz the princess of the Moran Kingdom and fawned over Liz in every possible way. Because Liz could do whatever she wanted in the Moran Kingdom, she was very free and did not vent her anger on Jianggong. However, over the years, her guards had changed batch after batch, and Liz's reputation had also spread. Before Ron left, he also told Ning Cheng not to run away. If he became Liz's guard, he would have a chance to live. If he ran away, he would end up in a miserable state. No matter where he fled to, he would only die. From Ron's words, Ning Cheng guessed that Sha Xian's son should not have died. As for Liz, if she didn't cultivate a type of dual cultivation technique, then she was extremely talented in bed. In just half a day, Ning Cheng, Wang and Chasing Bull arrived at the periphery of Tanza Point. Because Chasing Bull also had to adapt to the rules of this place, Ning Cheng did not send it into the mysterious yellow bead. The periphery of Tanza Point was blocked by some simple protective restrictions, and behind the protective restrictions, there was also a city wall. Perhaps because this place was relatively remote, although many people came and went, Ning Cheng did not encounter any powerhouses. No one questioned the entrance of Tanza Point. After Ning Cheng entered Tanza Point, he was greeted by a flat road with a width of 10 feet. There were no buildings on either side of the road, but at the end of the road was a magnificent circular castle. Ning Cheng could see from afar that the outermost part of the circular castle had 6 words suspended above it, Tanza Point Office of General Affairs. On both sides of the road, there were many narrow streets, and these narrow streets had a variety of commercial buildings, shops, and some rest stops. Ning Cheng did not go directly to the Office of General Affairs. Princess Liz had given him 3 days. He decided to find a rest stop and use these 2 days to restore his strength. In addition, he also wanted to buy some jade strips and look at the cultivation methods here. You guys, just follow me to the Office of General Affairs. Ning Cheng had just bought a few jade strips from a merchant house with Wang and Chasing Bull and was about to turn into another street when 2 men stopped in front of him. Ning Cheng had seen these 2 people before. They were from Liz's team. It seems that Liz had been waiting for him for a long time. Ning Cheng was also too lazy to speak any nonsense. First take me to a quiet place, and at the same time a place with sufficient essence chi to rest for 2 days. 2 days later I will go and report to the princess. The 2 of them looked at Ning Cheng in surprise. They did not think that the person chosen by the princess as her bodyguard would be so arrogant. What, do you have an opinion? Ning Cheng's voice sank, and the tone of his words also became heavy. Even though he did not extend his suppression domain, the aura of a powerhouse still made the 2 men feel a sense of oppression. One of them hurriedly said, "No, why would I have any objections? Please follow me. Actually, the place where the guards of the General Affairs Office live is filled with yuan qi, and it's also very quiet. Both of you, this Tanza Cape's Office of General Affairs seems to have been built not too long ago?" Although he did not sweep out with his spiritual consciousness, Ning Cheng could still feel it after walking for a while on the most spacious road. The two men felt suppressed by Ning Cheng's imposing manner, but after listening to Ning Cheng's words, they quickly replied, "The princess likes Tanza Cape, so she established the Tanza Cape's Office of General Affairs here." Ning Cheng instantly understood that this Princess Liz really was an arrogant person. One could imagine that the road he was walking on right now was originally filled with shops. But because Princess Liz came here, these shops were all demolished, and a new road and the Office of General Affairs were built. A person who did not care about the affairs of Tanza Cape at all, establishing an Office of General Affairs, there was nothing more ridiculous than this. Several guards stood outside the Tanza Cape Office of General Affairs. After Ning Cheng and Wang entered, they were taken to a side courtyard of the Office of General Affairs and temporarily settled down. Even as Princess Liz's bodyguard, the conditions were not bad. Ning Cheng was allocated a room that was not small, with a cultivation room, a lounge, and a pet room. Princess Liz did not immediately summon Ning Cheng, but Ning Cheng naturally would not go to Princess Liz right now. Therefore, he began to arrange restrictions in the room. After arranging the protective restrictions, Ning Cheng gave the cultivation room and the pet room to Wang and Chasing Bull, while recovering his cultivation in the lounge. With Ning Cheng's attainments in the Tao of Array formations, even if the king of the Moran royal region came here, he would not be able to see through the restrictions. After entering the cultivation room, Ning Cheng could clearly feel the darkness attributed and light attributed laws here. In just an incense stick worth of time, Ning Cheng was completely immersed in the new law insights. When Ning Cheng opened his eyes again, 3 days had already passed by. A few days later, his mysterious yellow formless cultivation method slowly began to integrate with the surrounding laws of heaven and earth. His spiritual consciousness did not need to integrate with the darkness-attributed laws and could easily penetrate out. But what puzzled Ning Cheng was that his mysterious yellow formless cultivation method's deduction effect here was not as good as it was in the original universe. However, the jade strips he bought helped him a lot, although they were all low-level cultivation method jade strips. They only described some simple light-attributed essence chi or described how to deal with darkness-attributed cultivators. For Ning Cheng, this was a revelation of a new attribute, which would save him a lot of time. Ning Cheng scanned Chasing Bull and Wang with his spiritual consciousness. Wang's strength had made greater progress than Chasing Bull and was equivalent to the cauldron-filling realm. However, Chasing Bull's spiritual consciousness and strength were still in the profound core realm. Whether it was Wang or Chasing Bull's progress, Ning Cheng felt very satisfied. Even if he couldn't fully restore his strength, he would at least have the ability to protect himself in this place. 3 days later, Princess Liz, who had asked him to come, still hadn't come to see him. Ning Cheng did not feel anxious. The longer he stayed here, the stronger he would become. Another month passed by. If Ning Cheng didn't use the darkness-attributed laws, he would have already reached the full circle of the eternal realm. If he used the darkness-attributed laws, his strength would have gone far beyond that. However, Princess Liz still hadn't come to see him, which puzzled him. Tanza Jiao's cultivation method jade strip was too low-level and could only help him integrate the attributes here as quickly as possible. But it still couldn't help him improve his Tao charm. At this time, he only had 2 ways. One was to find a place where no one would disturb him and settle down. As long as he spent a few years, he could fully integrate the mysterious yellow formless with the laws here. The other way was to buy some jade strips containing insights into the laws of this universe to save himself time. Continuing to cultivate wouldn't make much progress, so Ning Cheng carefully swept out with his spiritual consciousness. This time, he saw Princess Liz. Princess Liz was walking towards him with a woman in a long skirt. The woman's strength had reached the early stage Tao sculpting realm. The woman in the long skirt seemed to have noticed Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness scanning her, and she subconsciously looked up. Ning Cheng quickly retracted his spiritual consciousness and woke up Chasing Bull and Wang. At the same time, he also put away all the restrictions he had arranged. If Liz wanted to delay taking him to the Radiant Sky Sacred Region, Ning Cheng planned to ask Liz about the Radiant Sky Sacred Region before heading there himself. What is this place? The woman in the long skirt walking next to Princess Liz stopped outside Ning Cheng's room and asked aloud. She looked very cultured and didn't sweep through Ning Cheng's room with her spiritual consciousness. Liz quickly replied, Sister Tang Hua, this is the place where my guards live. If we go this way, we can reach my newly built spiritual fruit orchard. I recently got a few new spiritual fruits. Liz knew that she couldn't hide it from her guards, so she decided to speak it out directly. In her opinion, Sister Tang Hua would immediately frown and leave. But to her surprise, the woman in the long skirt showed a slight smile. I also want to see my little sister's heroic guards. I don't know if my little sister would mind. Liz felt slightly startled and didn't understand what was going on. But she still spoke up carefully. If Big Sister wants to see them, then it's naturally not a problem. Let's go to this one. The woman in the long skirt pointed to the place where Ning Cheng cultivated. She vaguely felt that the spiritual consciousness sweeping towards her had come from this place. Logically speaking, no one would dare to use their spiritual consciousness to scan her in this place. Even if someone used their spiritual consciousness to scan her, they wouldn't be able to achieve such a smooth and untraceable feeling. If she hadn't brought along a top-grade perception-type weapon today, she might not have been able to discover this spiritual consciousness. It's you? Liz looked at Ning Cheng standing at the door of the room after opening the restriction and asked in surprise. Ning Cheng looked at Liz's expression and understood that this woman had truly forgotten about him. He quickly cupped his fists and spoke, Ning Cheng greets Princess Liz. You're called Ning Cheng? After the woman in the long skirt heard Ning Cheng's words, she looked Ning Cheng up and down. Her eyes still showed some disappointment. Ning Cheng's strength didn't seem to be high. Moreover, the man behind Ning Cheng had even lower strength. Yes, Ning Cheng is a guard that I just received. This time, I will be going to the sacred domain. He will also be one of my guards. Not waiting for Ning Cheng to speak, Princess Liz spoke up from the side. In fact, this was the first time she had heard of Ning Cheng's name. Ning Cheng on hearing this immediately spoke up, Excuse me, Princess, when will we leave for the sacred city? The woman in the long skirt looked at Liz in surprise. She had just brought the news here, and Liz had already told this guard. From the looks of it, this guard's position in Liz's heart was not low. Liz felt embarrassed. To be honest, she had no intention of taking Ning Cheng to the sacred domain. When she said that she would take Ning Cheng to the sacred domain, it was a spur-of-the-moment decision. This spur-of-the-moment decision was indeed because she felt a similar aura from Ning Cheng to the five-colored shattered Star Plaza. However, it was just a flash. 2 days after returning to Tanza Point, she put the matter aside. Chapter 1400. Princess Ri scolded, Ning Cheng, don't be rude in front of Sister Tang Hua. The woman in the long skirt smiled, Liz, it's fine. Saying that, she looked at Ning Cheng and asked, Ning Cheng, have you been Sister Liz's guard for a long time? Ning Cheng quickly replied, Yes, it's been a long time. The princess is very good to me. I've been cultivating here for a long time and I've improved a lot. Risa's face flashed with embarrassment. In fact, Ning Cheng had been her guard for more than a month. However, after Ning Cheng became her guard, this was the first time she met Ning Cheng. Oh, what are you good at? Tang Hua asked with a smile. Ning Cheng was slightly moved in his heart. Was it possible that this woman was aware that his spiritual consciousness was spying on her? Otherwise, why would he keep asking a nameless guard like him? Logically speaking, even if his cultivation was at the eternal realm, this Tao sculpting woman in front of him shouldn't be able to detect his spiritual consciousness, unless this woman had a top-grade weapon on her. Although Ning Cheng could not use his spiritual consciousness to spy on this woman in the long robe, he still felt a bit more vigilant in his heart. The woman in the long dress was much prettier than Liz. She had an oval face, but there was a hint of roundness. This roundness had a hint of gentleness. Even with a smile on her face, there was still a faint aura that made it hard for people to refuse. It could be seen that this Tang Hua's background was much higher than Liz's. I am better at dealing with group attacks, Ning Qing said as he looked for a skill that a bodyguard should have. When Tang Hua heard this, she frowned slightly. She looked at Liz and said, Liz, the journey to the sacred domain this time is very long. Plus, we only have a limited number of slots. Tang Hua's words had not yet finished. When Ning Qing immediately knew what the other party meant, it was as if he was a burden to them. Besides, wasn't a treasure carriage a flying magic treasure? Since the quota was limited, wouldn't it be fine to add a few more flying treasures? Liz nodded and immediately spoke to Ning Qing. Ning Qing. When Ning Qing heard Liz's words, he understood that this woman wanted him to stay in Tanza Point. Therefore, he quickly spoke up, by the way, I can also craft artifacts, and my artifact crafting skills are quite good. The reason why Ning Qing said this was because Ning Qing could tell from Ron's performance that Guanming's artifact crafting methods were not very good. Do you know how to refine artifacts? Tang Hua looked at Ning Qing in amazement. Ning Qing pretended to be proud and said, That's right, I know how to refine artifacts. This time, Tang Hua did not wait for Liz to speak and said to Liz, Just bring him along, nowadays there are not many people who are good at crafting artifacts. With that, Tang Hua turned around and left. Liz nodded towards Ning Qing, seemingly satisfied with Ning Qing's performance. Then he said, We'll depart in 3 days. Get ready. Ning Qing waited for the two women to walk far away. Before he sighed, he had been fooled. Even if he did not say that he knew how to refine, this woman called Tang Hua would find a way to let Liz take him. Tang Hua should have been eyeing him. As for the reason, it was very likely that it had something to do with him sweeping her with his divine sense. The reason why he asked him about his abilities was because he was certain that he wanted to go to the Saint region. Ning Qing shook his head. He was a powerhouse about to reach the 3rd step, but he was tricked by a Tao-molding divine emperor. This woman was not simple. Congratulations, I am Jing Xian. I hope that elder brother Ning can take care of me in the future. A guard from the next room came out and spoke to Ning Qing with cupped fists. Apparently, he had also heard Ning Qing's registration. Ning Qing replied with a smile and cupped fists, Many thanks, Brother Zheng. I was just lucky. The Saint region is hard to enter. Brother Ning has only been here for a little more than a month, and you already have the opportunity to go to the Saint region with the princess. It really is a great fortune. Zheng Xian sighed. This time, it was not his turn to go to the Saint region, which made him feel very regretful. Ning Qing asked in doubt, Brother Zheng, Fairy Tang Hua said that the slots for the treasure carriage are limited. Why not add another treasure carriage? Zheng Xian looked at Ning Qing in surprise. After a while, he said, Brother Ning just came from the ordinary realm, so it's normal that you don't know about it. From the Mo Luan Imperial region to the Bright Radiance First Sacred region, the journey is incomparably long. Moreover, to the sacred region, there is also the Sacred Domain River. Apart from the Radiant Treasure Carriage, no other weapon can cross the Sacred Domain River. Even if you can walk to the edge of the Sacred Domain River, without the Radiant Treasure Carriage, you still can't reach the sacred region. So that was the case. Ning Qing finally understood what was going on. This Sacred Domain River must be a dangerous place like the Jiaoliang Mountain. Many thanks for Brother Zheng's advice. Ning Qing and Jing Xian exchanged a few polite words before returning to their room. Dao Lord Ning, I want to say goodbye. As soon as Ning Qing returned to his room, Wang spoke to Ning Qing with a hint of excitement in his eyes. Ning Qing looked at Wang in doubt. Wang, we're about to go to the Bright Radiance Sacred Region. The opportunities there are definitely much more than this place. Why do you want to say goodbye now? Wang took in a deep breath and spoke with extreme caution. Dao Lord Ning, the slots to go to the sacred region are limited. I listened to Tang Hua's words. If you insist on taking me with you, she should agree. You have to be careful of that woman. She's not that simple. Then let's go together. Ning Qing didn't care about what that woman thought about him bringing along a person and a beast. Wang shook his head and continued, More importantly, I don't want to go. I feel like a fish in water in this place. The effect of cultivation here is many times better than in the perpetual moon abyss. I'm sure that in a few years, I can fully restore my strength and see the 3rd step. Ning Cheng nodded and felt that Wang's words were not nonsense. In just a month, Wang's strength had almost caught up to him. From this, it could be seen that Wang was indeed more suitable for cultivation in this side of the universe. Another thing is that I want to explore the new rules of this place by myself. I want to leave Tanza Point and find a place alone to advance to the third step. Wang spoke in a serious tone. Ning Cheng asked in confusion, "Don't you want to go back to the five-element universe where we came from?" Wang shook his head and said, "Yes, I really don't want to go back. First, this place is more suitable for me. If I don't go back, I can avoid participating in the second battle to open the gate of good fortune. After seeing Dao Lord Ning's strength, I know that I'm just an ant when facing the second opening of the gate of good fortune. Of course, there's another more important reason." "What?" Ning Cheng asked subconsciously. Wang took in a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "I only figured out this problem after coming to this side of the universe. Ji Fengyu is a genius, so how could he let a wisp of his consciousness pose a threat to him? Or rather, how could he let a wisp of his consciousness, which he spent so much effort to create, escape his control?" Ning Cheng immediately understood what Wang meant. "Wang, are you saying that Ji Fengyu deliberately let you grow so that he could use you?" Wang said with certainty, "In this side of the universe, after coming into contact with the dark and light attributes, I became clearer. That's what Ji Fengyu thought. He left behind many consciousnesses in the past, and I'm just one of them. I'm sure that when the second gate of good fortune opens, Ji Fengyu will integrate his consciousnesses and perfect his world and Tao. What he did back then is most likely to be in preparation for the second opening of the gate of good fortune." Ning Cheng fell silent. He didn't think that Wang was wrong. These old things were extremely shrewd and wouldn't die easily. It was normal for them to leave behind some tricks that others couldn't fathom. Wang sighed and said, "After coming to this side of the universe, this feeling became clearer. I feel that only by staying here and perfecting my Tao and stepping into the third step can I cut off all previous connections and truly belong to myself." "Okay, then I wish you success." Ning Cheng didn't try to persuade him anymore. Everyone had their own ambitions. Since Wang had made up his mind, there was no need for him to persuade him anymore. Besides, Wang's words weren't without reason. Alas, one less old friend. Looking at Wang leaving the Tanza Point Manor alone, Chasing Bull spoke with a sigh. As a guy who liked to be in a crowd, he was bored out of his mind without anyone to bicker with. This made it miss that old fart a lot. Among all the people it had come into contact with, only that old fart was the most compatible with its temperament. From that old fart, it not only learned a lot of unscrupulous things, but also reached a higher level. 3 days later, Ning Cheng followed the other 49 guards and escorted Liz and Tang Hua out of Tanza Point. Watching Ning Cheng leave, Princess Liz didn't even mention it. Ning Cheng was worried that Chasing Bull would refuse, but he didn't expect that it wouldn't even ask. That's because each of the 50 guards had a companion beast. The only difference was that Ning Cheng's companion beast, Chasing Bull, was the weakest. Ning Cheng wanted to understand Tang Hua's origin and why she wanted to go to the sacred domain. However, even after he asked a few people in succession, no one was willing to talk to him. Isolated, Ning Cheng felt a little speechless. Most likely, these guards thought that he was here to steal their favors. As such, he could only walk at the back with Chasing Bull. "Friend, my name is Ju Qi." Just when Ning Cheng was about to stop asking, a short, thin man suddenly walked up to Ning Cheng and whispered with cupped fists, "My name is Ning Cheng." Ning Cheng also cupped his fists in return. Ju Qi glanced at the group of guards in front of him and whispered, "Brother Ning, if you encounter a battle on the road, don't stand with these people." But Ning Cheng asked in doubt, although these guards were estranged from him, but after all, they were all on the same side. Ju Qi replied, "You just arrived here, so you don't know about these people. There will definitely be battles along the way, and you'll understand what I mean when the time comes." After chatting with Ju Qi for a while, Ning Cheng had a preliminary understanding of the situation. Among the 50 guards, Liz only had 20 guards, while the other 30 were Tang Hua's. As for Tang Hua's origin, Ju Qi didn't know much about it. He only knew that she was a person with a great background and was related to Liz. This group of people would not go to the Mo Lun Imperial region but directly to the first sacred domain of the Bright Radiant sect. As for the Radiant Treasure Chariot, it would only appear in the Sacred Domain River. Chapter 1401. While Zhu Qi spoke from the side, Ning Cheng was actually thinking about the Sacred Domain River. The Holy Domain River was probably the same as the moat. It should be the defensive river of the Radiant Empire. Seeing Ning Cheng remain silent, Zhu Qi thought that Ning Cheng was worried. He raised his hand and patted Ning Cheng's shoulder. "Brother Ning, don't worry. There shouldn't be any problems within the Moran King's domain. Even if someone is blind, it won't be our turn to make a move. By the time they reached the border of the Moran Kingdom, there would be top-grade flying treasures. With so many experts on the flying ship, even if some bandits wanted to take action, they wouldn't have the guts." Ning Cheng quickly spoke up, "I'm not worried about it. I'm just thinking about how big tomorrow's sacred domain is, and how powerful the strongest powerhouse is." Hearing Ning Cheng's words, Zhu Qi gave a smile. "My Bright Radiant sect has many powerhouses, but I naturally don't know how strong the strongest one is. However, I do know who the strongest expert of our Warsong Imperial region is." "Who?" Ning Cheng asked casually. Ning Cheng didn't really care about an expert from the Warsong Imperial domain. "It's Cadiz. Cadiz is the #1 battle emperor in the Warsong Imperial region. I heard that in the battle for the origin with Genshin, Cadiz killed an expert who was a level higher than him and shocked the entire Radiant Heavens." Zhu Qi's words made Ning Cheng's mind feel as if a meteor had streaked across it, flashing a bright light. He almost smacked his head. Why didn't he think of that? Why was it that his mysterious yellow formless was able to deduce cultivation methods in the original universe, but when he came here to fuse the laws of darkness and light, he ended up stumbling? Zhu Qi's words made him suddenly understand. Although his mysterious yellow bead had the 5 elemental origins, but it did not have the darkness-attributed origins or the light-attributed origins. If he could obtain these 2 origins, then wouldn't the mysterious yellow bead rise to the next level? Even if the mysterious yellow bead did not advance to the next level, now that he possessed these 2 origins, his mysterious yellow formless cultivation method would definitely become more complete. At the same time, his understanding of the laws of darkness and the laws of light would also increase by a step. After coming to this place, Ning Cheng had always felt that he was missing something. Only now did he truly wake up. What he lacked were the origins of darkness and light. "Brother Zhu, did you just say that there was a war to fight for the origin?" Ning Cheng immediately asked. Zhu Qi answered, "Of course, it was the darkness origin bead that appeared that time. The darkness origin bead appeared in the Thunder God Canyon of the Radiant Heavens. The origin bead's appearance in the radiant sky had nothing to do with the darkness sky. However, the experts of the darkness sky believed that the darkness origin bead should belong to the darkness sky. As a result, countless experts came to fight over it. Because of the darkness origin bead, a great battle had broken out between Heavenlight and Heavenlight. Countless powerhouses perished in that battle. Senior Cadiz became famous in that battle and became one of the famous powerhouses of the Radiant Kingdom. Who managed to snatch the darkness origin bead? Ning Cheng immediately asked. This was what he cared about the most. Zhu Qi shook his head and said, "After that battle, the 2 sides stopped fighting and haven't fought again for many years. As for who obtained the origin bead, I really have no idea." While talking with Zhu Qi, Ning Cheng had gained a better understanding of this universe. Just as he had guessed, this universe really was a vast and boundless continent. A day later, the team stopped at the edge of a huge public square. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness could already see several huge airship-type artifacts on the public square. A man with a strong body and an extremely handsome appearance stood up and said, "We're about to board the Imperial Domain's airship from here to the Warsong Imperial Domain. Because we're not the only ones on the airship, there are also many other caravans and some powerhouses. After getting on the airship, please don't cause any trouble." After chatting with Zhu Qi for so long, Ning Cheng now knew who this handsome man was. He was Dan Jiaxi, the captain of Liz's escort team. Ning Qing even had a malicious thought that the reason why Dan Jiaxi could become the captain was because of his good looks, which could make Liz happy. Ning Qing just couldn't figure out how a dark-skinned and short fellow like Zhu Qi managed to sneak into the escort team. Despite Dan Jiaxi's words, when Liz and Tang Hua walked onto the airship with a group of guards, many of the guards on the airship stood on both sides to greet them. From this, one could tell that Liz's status here was extremely high. With Liz's status, no one on the airship would come looking for trouble. As one of Liz's guards, Ning Qing naturally lived in the best part of the airship. Not only that, but he was also assigned a luxurious cultivation room. As soon as he entered the room, Chasing Bull spoke up, "Master, instead of taking this broken airship, it's better to use the Starry Sky Wheel. We can get there in a flash." Chasing Bull was used to riding the Starry Sky Wheel. Although this huge airship looked luxurious and comfortable, Chasing Bull couldn't get used to it. The main reason was that the speed of this huge airship's flight-type weapon was definitely not as fast as the Starry Sky Wheel. Ning Qing hadn't even boarded the airship when he realized that this airship's speed couldn't even compare to a low-rank spirit artifact flight-type weapon. However, he didn't have a map to reach the sacred domain. Moreover, he didn't know how much strength he needed to reach the sacred domain. He could only follow behind the princess. Don't be long-winded. With your strength, even if you controlled the Starry Sky Wheel, you wouldn't be much faster than this. Ning Qing gave Chasing Bull a stare. Chasing Bull was too lazy. With such good qualifications, it didn't want to cultivate. "Master, rest assured. This flight won't be a short one. I will definitely improve my strength." Feeling that its master wasn't satisfied with its progress, Chasing Bull quickly patted its chest and guaranteed. Ning Qing waved his hand and stopped Chasing Bull from continuing to speak. Sure enough, the next moment, Liz in a red dress appeared at his door. Ning Qing greets the princess. Ning Qing quickly cupped his fists and greeted. He still needed Princess Liz's help to reach the sacred domain. Therefore, he naturally couldn't offend Liz at this time. Liz glanced at Ning Qing and then glanced at Chasing Bull on the side. Chasing Bull consciously walked into the beast pet room next to it. It sneered in its heart. "You want to seduce my master with such an ugly appearance? Which one of my master's women is 10,000 times better than a broken princess like you? Ning Qing, since I accepted you as a guard, I've been very busy and haven't had time to pamper you. You don't mind, do you?" Liz spoke with a slightly panting tone. Ning Qing felt a chill run down his spine. "Pamper me? No, my cultivation is too weak. I just want to seize the time to cultivate." Ning Qing replied vaguely. In fact, he wanted Princess Liz to leave as soon as possible. "It doesn't matter. When you and I are together, you will know that your cultivation will rise by leaps and bounds." Liz spoke without care. Ning Qing felt even more speechless. "You're just a Dao sculpting cultivator, and your foundation is already modeled. Yet you still want to grow by leaps and bounds." This princess's face had already reached a certain level of thickness. "Excuse me, is Protector Ning here?" Just when Ning Qing wanted to find an excuse to let Liz leave, Tang Hua's voice arrived. Liz quickly put away her hands that were about to untie her dress and was about to give Ning Qing a meaningful look when Ning Qing spoke up. "I haven't rested yet. Fairy Tang Hua, please come in." After saying that, Ning Qing took the initiative to open the restriction on the door. Tang Hua felt a little surprised when she saw Liz in Ning Qing's room. But she smiled and said, "Sister Liz, I didn't expect you to be here." Liz also showed a smile. "Sister Tang Hua, is there something you need from my guard?" Protector Ning said that he is good at artifact crafting, and I happen to have some artifact crafting matters to consult Protector Ning. I don't know if it's convenient. Tang Hua kept a smile on her face. Ning Qing pretended to be serious and said, "Naturally, it's convenient. If Fairy Tang Hua has any questions, please ask." When Liz heard Ning Qing's words, she felt very unhappy with Ning Qing. But she obviously didn't want to get into a deadlock with Tang Hua. So she said, "Then I'll leave first." "Wait, Sister Liz, what do you think of my guard, Huang Fuxiu?" Just as Liz was about to leave, Tang Hua unexpectedly called out to Liz. Liz froze for a moment before speaking up. Sister Tang Hua, Huang Fuxiu is the captain of your guard team. He is also the strongest in our team. Naturally, he is a first-class talent. There was one more sentence that Liz didn't say. Huang Fuxiu not only had the highest cultivation, but he was also tall and handsome, with a masculine appeal. Compared to her guard captain, Dan Jiaxi, he was several times stronger. Tang Hua spoke up softly, if Sister Liz doesn't mind, I intend to give Huang Fuxiu to Sister. I think that among Sister's guards, their strength is still a bit weak. Liz was startled for a moment. She didn't think that Tang Hua would give her the strongest and most handsome guard under her command. In fact, along the way, Huang Fuxiu had already left a very deep impression in her heart. How can this be? Huang Fuxiu is Sister's guard captain, how can I? Liz didn't know what Tang Hua meant, but although she was reluctant, she still refused. Tang Hua raised her hand to stop Liz's words, and spoke in a soft voice. You and I are sisters, there is nothing that can't be done. Don't tell me that if I took a fancy to your guard captain, and wanted to ask Sister for it, would Sister not agree? Naturally not, if Sister took a fancy to Dan Jiaxi. Liz's words had not yet finished, when she was once again stopped by Tang Hua. I'm just making an analogy, Dan Jiaxi is so capable, I naturally would not want him. As for Huang Fuxiu being Sister's guard, this matter is settled. Then Liz thanks Sister for your kindness. Hearing Tang Hua's words, Liz knew that Tang Hua was not pretending to be generous, but really wanted to give Huang Fuxiu to her. In that case, she had no reason not to accept it. And that's right, Sister Liz, this guard of Ningcheng has some good insights on crafting artifacts. I want to shamelessly ask Sister to come over. I don't know what Sister thinks about it. Tang Hua, on hearing Liz accept Huang Fuxiu, immediately spoke up. Liz finally understood. Originally her sister wanted to use Huang Fuxiu to exchange for Ningcheng. She knew that Tang Hua was shrewd, but using Huang Fuxiu to exchange for Ningcheng, this kind of unprofitable business, was there something strange about it? She immediately thought of the moment when she saw Ningcheng, and felt a trace of familiarity from Ningcheng. At this moment, she unexpectedly felt somewhat reluctant to hand over Ningcheng. Hearing her words, she did not immediately agree, but looked at Ningcheng and asked, Ningcheng, Sister Tang Hua wants you to help, what do you think about it? Chapter 1402. Ningcheng did not care about Reese's thoughts and attitude, as he spoke without hesitation, being able to help Fairy Tang Hua, I am naturally willing. Liz was exasperated. If any of her guards were to ask this question, they would definitely say that although they wanted to serve Tang Hua, they were unwilling to leave her. This Ningcheng was just a rogue cultivator from the mortal realm, yet he was so unreasonable. If she had known earlier, she would have taught him a lesson first. Otherwise, a rogue cultivator from the mortal domain would think that she, Liz, was someone easy to deal with. Many thanks to Ningcheng's bodyguard, Sister Liz. After Tang Hua thanked Ningcheng, she looked at Liz with a smile. Reese gave a somewhat unnatural smile. Since Ningcheng is willing, then he will naturally be elder Sister Tang Hua's bodyguard. When Sister Tang Hua doesn't need him anymore, then let him come back. This time, Tang Hua did not speak. Ningcheng sneered in his heart. At that time, even if he hadn't found the darkness-attributed laws, a small imperial domain wouldn't have been able to restrain him. After Liz finished this sentence, she waited for Ningcheng to express his stance. What she did not expect was that Ningcheng acted as if he had not heard those words, and still acted as if nothing had happened. Her heart was filled with hatred. She could only casually say goodbye and turn around to leave gloomily. When Liz left, Ningcheng did not show even the slightest bit of reaction. Tang Hua did not seem to be surprised by this, as she casually shot out a few restrictions to isolate Ningcheng's room. Finishing these, Tang Hua looked at Ningcheng with a smile. Friend Ning, if I have not guessed wrong, then your cultivation should be far higher than mine. Besides, you are not Ritha's guard. In other words, you became Liz's bodyguard for a reason. After the last time Tang Hua used words to scheme against him, Ningcheng knew that this woman was not simple. He was not surprised and simply sat down and said, Miss Tang Hua, Since you know that my strength is stronger than you, you still dare to stay here alone with me? Aren't you afraid that I'll attack you? Tang Hua showed a faint smile. Not only was she not worried, but she also sat opposite to Ning Cheng, and took the initiative to take out the teapot and pour a cup of spiritual tea for Ning Cheng, and spoke, "You will not kill me, although your strength is slightly stronger than me, but it does not necessarily mean that you would be able to kill me. Even if you could kill me, why did you do it? What's more, if you make a move, you'll definitely die." Ning Cheng did not speak. He did not believe that Tang Hua really wanted him to help her with crafting an artifact. Seeing Ning Cheng not speaking, Tang Hua once again spoke. "Your spiritual consciousness is very strange. The last time you used your spiritual consciousness to spy on me, I almost did not notice it. If you have something to say, then just say it. I don't like to be long-winded." As Ning Cheng spoke, he felt the cabin slightly shake. He knew that the airship should have set off. "All right, then I'll be straightforward." Tang Hua stood up. "What's the extent of your refining level? How's the identification of materials?" Ning Cheng spoke in a light voice. "My level of crafting artifacts is not bad, but my ability to identify materials is 100 times better than my level of crafting artifacts." Speaking till here, Ning Cheng pretended to be even more proud as he spoke. "Even if you look at the entire light heavenly sect, there are only a handful of people who are better than me in identifying materials." Although she knew that Ning Cheng was just bragging, Tang Hua was still somewhat surprised. She raised her hand and grabbed 3 materials and placed them on the table. "May I ask what these 3 materials are?" When Ning Cheng saw these 3 materials, he suddenly felt a bit surprised, because the first 2 of these 3 materials were extremely rare. Tang Hua was only in the Dao sculpting realm, yet she could come up with these materials. From this, it could be seen that the strength behind her wasn't weak. This is the evil light ghost mist, which is relatively rare. It's a material for crafting top-grade soul-devouring artifacts. Ning Cheng pointed to a gray fog with a glow. Hearing Ning Cheng recognize the evil light ghost mist, Tang Hua's eyes showed a trace of surprise. Ning Cheng didn't care about Tang Hua's expression and pointed to the second grayish thing and said, "This is the Night Thunder Underworld fruit. People say that it's rare to find a thunder-attributed Dao fruit in the Dark Nether realm, but this Night Thunder Underworld fruit really is a product of the Dark Nether realm. In terms of value, it might not be as good as the evil light ghost mist, but it's even rarer. This is not an artifact crafting material, but a Dao fruit for alchemy." Tang Hua truly felt moved this time. In fact, as long as Ning Cheng could recognize one of the 3 materials, she would feel very satisfied. After all, the 3 things she took out were extremely rare. Most people would never have heard of them, let alone seen them in their lifetime. Ning Cheng didn't even touch them with his hands, yet he recognized these 2 things. "Brother Ning, aren't you proficient in artifact crafting? How can you even recognize alchemy materials?" Tang Hua felt surprised in her heart, but asked in a very calm voice. She unconsciously changed the way she addressed Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng showed a smile and spoke. "I can also refine some simple medicinal pills, but my alchemy level is not as good as artifact crafting." Ning Cheng wasn't talking nonsense. Among the auxiliary skills he cultivated, the one he spent the most time researching was the Tao of Arrays, followed by the Tao of Alchemy and the Tao of Artifact Crafting. After he successfully refined the Good Fortune Divine Spear, his attainments in the Tao of Artifact Crafting was not any weaker than the Tao of Alchemy. "Well, does Brother Ning know what this 3rd material is?" Tang Hua's eyes lit up even more, as she pointed to the 3rd lump of material and asked. The 3rd lump of material was gray with a touch of light blue, and looked like a piece of bamboo. The spiritual chi fluctuations it gave off were also very elusive. Ning Cheng's gaze fell on this material for a while before he spoke. "Although I haven't seen this thing before, I can recognize it. If I'm not wrong, this should be booby. I didn't expect Miss Tang Hua to have this kind of rare material. I really admire it." Booby was a low-level body sculpting material. If the first 2 materials were extremely rare, then booby was almost extinct. Sometimes, one might not even be able to find one in 100 planets, but the value of this material was extremely low. It could only be used to sculpt the body of low-leveled cultivators, and after sculpting it, there would be many side effects. Therefore, there were almost no jade strips that recorded this material. After hearing that Ning Cheng recognized the booby, Tang Hua took a deep breath. She knew that the person she was looking for was Ning Cheng. Before she took out the booby, she had not expected Ning Cheng to recognize this material. When her grandfather had taken out the booby, even a top-notch artifact crafting Grand Master of the Bright Sky Academy could not recognize it, but Ning Cheng was able to recognize it. "Brother Ning, I want to apologize to you. I thought that you were just talking big. But now I know that what you said was the truth." Tang Hua finished, before she gave a deep bow to Ning Cheng. After the salute, Tang Hua lowered her posture and spoke, "Brother Ning, I have a matter that I want to ask you for help with. After arriving at the sacred domain, I want to identify a few materials." Not waiting for Tang Hua to finish, Ning Cheng waved his hand to stop her words. "Wait, although I am good at identifying materials. I do not intend to help you with anything, I have my own things to do." At this time, Tang Hua naturally did not dare to say that Ning Cheng was already her bodyguard. She knew that Ning Cheng was definitely not an ordinary person. If what Liz Si said was true, then how could a rogue cultivator from the ordinary realm recognize the booby? Therefore, after Ning Cheng spoke, she did not get angry, but spoke up in a sincere manner. "I know that Brother Ning also has something to do in the sacred domain. However, I still have a few means in the sacred domain. I ask Brother Ning to speak up, as long as it is not a particularly difficult matter. I believe that I can help you 1 or 2 times." Ning Cheng's heart moved when he heard those words. He pretended to sneer and spoke, "Isn't Miss Tang Hua's words a bit too big? If I say that I want the light origin bead, or even the darkness origin bead, can you help me 1 or 2 times? Therefore, it is better to be practical with your words." Tang Hua gave an awkward smile. "The darkness origin bead belongs to my Bright Sky Academy's premier powerhouse, Senior Nong Shimu. Even the Bright Sky Sacred Domain's Sacred Master cannot take it. As for the light origin bead, it has never appeared before." "Nong Shimu? The premier powerhouse of my Bright Sky Academy?" Ning Cheng immediately asked. He had finally found the whereabouts of the darkness origin bead, but would he be a match for the premier powerhouse of my Bright Sky Academy after recovering his strength? Tang Hua nodded. "Yes, Senior Nong Shimu is the premier powerhouse of my Bright Sky Academy. Even my grandfather is not his opponent. He made a great contribution to my Bright Sky Academy. Not only did he protect my bright sky from destruction, but he also snatched back the 5-colored star splitter bow during the battle with Dark Sky." "Did Senior Nong Shimu snatch back the 5-colored star splitter bow?" Ning Cheng asked again. "Yes, after Senior Nong Shimu snatched back the 5-colored star splitter bow, he did not keep it for himself. Instead, he gave it to the sacred domain. It is now carved in the sacred domain's public square, with the bow facing Dark Sky. Once Dark Sky decides to attack Bright Sky, this bow would be the first to activate." Tang Hua explained. Ning Cheng gave out a sigh in his heart. Tang Hua really knew more than Liz. He also understood that the 5-colored star splitter bow was not a decoration in the 5-colored star splitter public square, but a defensive weapon arranged in the 5-colored star splitter public square. From the looks of it, it would be even more troublesome to get his hands on this bow. Tang Hua continued, "After making such a great contribution, Senior Nong Shimu refused the opportunity to become the sacred master of Bright Sky Academy and chose to go into seclusion. Unexpectedly, the darkness origin bead once again appeared in the Bright Sky Academy. The appearance of the darkness origin bead once again attracted Dark Sky to snatch it. Senior Nong Shimu's injuries had not yet healed, but he still came out to defend the honor of Bright Sky. As a result, in that battle, Senior Nong Shimu once again killed a powerhouse from Dark Sky and snatched the darkness origin bead. Unfortunately, Senior Nong Shimu also burnt his spiritual soul during that battle, which eventually led to his soul dispersing and his body falling from the Bright Sky." "Nong Shimu died?" Ning Cheng looked at Tang Hua in doubt. If Nong Shimu died, then why was the darkness origin bead still in his hands? Tang Hua understood Ning Cheng's doubts and explained, Although Senior Nong Shimu died, he had a daughter. His daughter's name is Nong Shiru. She was frail and sickly, unable to cultivate at all. To everyone's surprise, Senior Nong Shimu gave this darkness origin bead to his daughter, Nong Shirua. Therefore, this darkness origin bead has always been with Nong Shiru. Because of Nong Shimu's contribution, Bright Sky's sacred master became extremely protective of Nong Shirua. Ning Qing frowned slightly. This was not right. What kind of treasure was the darkness origin bead? Since Nong Shimu died, how could his frail and sickly daughter keep the darkness origin bead? Chapter 1403. How did she manage to keep the origin bead? Ning Qing immediately asked. He did not believe that everyone from Bright Light sect had such integrity. Because Nong Shimu had contributed to Bright Tomorrow, these people would not snatch his daughter's darkness origin bead. Tang Hua knew that Ning Qing would ask such a question, as she gave a slight smile and spoke. Do you think that it would be so easy to obtain the title of Nong Shimu's strongest expert? No one could enter the restriction of his cave abode. Even if someone did enter, they wouldn't be able to do anything to her. Ning Qing immediately understood. You mean Nong Shirua has a protective treasure left behind by Nong Shimu? Tang Hua nodded. That's right. Back then, Nong Shimu severed a few of his sacred arts and refined them into Nong Shirua's protective sacred arts. Anyone who harbors ill intent towards her will be killed by her protective divine art. At this point, Tang Hua paused for a moment and asked, Do you know Bright Light Sanctuary's robber Di Fei? Ning Qing shook his head. Regarding the powerhouses of the Radiant Heavenly Sect, apart from Nong Zimu, who Tang Hua had mentioned, he only knew about Cadiz, the first battle emperor of the Warsong Imperial Domain that Ron had mentioned. As for robber Di Fei, he had never heard of him. Seeing that Ning Qing had not even heard of Di Fei, Tang Hua believed that Ning Qing must have come from the ordinary realm. As such, she once again asked, Do you know Cadiz? Ning Qing showed a slight smile. He finally asked someone he had heard of before. I naturally know about Cadiz. He is the premier battle emperor of the Warsong Imperial Domain. I've heard of him for a long time. If Ning Qing had not even heard of Cadiz, then Tang Hua would really suspect that Ning Qing did not belong to this place. After Ning Qing finished speaking, she continued, Although Cadiz is the premier battle emperor of the Warsong Imperial Domain, his strength ranks among the top even in the sacred domain of the Radiant Heavens. Even he was no match for Di Fei. Only the best treasures in the hands of the top experts could catch the eye of that robber Di Fei. Di Fei, on the other hand, had never failed in bright radiance. Those who are targeted by him, no matter how capable you are, will still die. Ning Qing suddenly asked, You mean that Di Fei finally set his eyes on the darkness origin bead and then went to look for Nong Shirua? Tang Hua nodded. That's right, Di Fei has his eyes on the darkness origin bead. He brought a few people with him to find Nong Shirua and prepare to steal the darkness origin bead. Do you know what happened? Saying that, she did not wait for Ning Qing to guess and took the initiative to say, In the end, none of the people he brought out came out, and he himself escaped with severe injuries, almost dying at the hands of Nong Shirua. Ning Qing took in a deep breath. If what Tang Hua said was true, then wasn't Nong Shimu a bit too powerful? The defensive divine art left behind after death was also so powerful? According to Ning Chang's guess, since Cadiz could become the premier battle emperor of the Warsong Empire, then his cultivation should at least be at the second step. Since robber Di Fei could defeat Cadiz, his cultivation was definitely at least at step 2. According to this speculation, Nong Shimu was most likely a true third-step expert. What level has Cadiz reached? Ning Qing also knew that he also wanted to obtain the darkness origin bead. If Nong Shirua didn't wait for him to speak and immediately attacked him, then he would have to figure out Chu Di Fei's strength first. Cadiz was already at the primordial chaos realm many years ago. I'm afraid he's already at the peak of the primordial chaos realm now. He might even be a Dao integration expert. Tang Hua did not hide anything. Ning Qing thought to himself, it seems that before Nong Shimu fell, his strongest strength should not be far off from his full recovery. Brother Ning, you seem to care a lot about the darkness origin bead? Seeing Ning Cheng not speaking, Tang Hua suddenly asked. Ning Cheng's heart skipped a beat. He had been too careless just now to ask so many questions. Tang Hua, this woman, was too sensitive and suspicious. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng showed a faint smile. I naturally want the darkness origin bead, but I'm afraid I won't be able to obtain it. Miss Tang Hua, I'm going to rest, please go ahead. Since Tang Hua knew that he wasn't a guard, and vaguely guessed that he had concealed his strength, Ning Cheng didn't need to continue pretending to be a guard. He believed that Tang Hua wouldn't suddenly drive him away. Tang Hua just casually said it. After all, with Ning Cheng's strength, he was still far from being able to covet the darkness origin bead. Brother Ning, I'll tell you the truth. The Radiant Heavenly Sacred Region has a top-notch radiant storehouse, which contains the top-notch artifact crafting and cultivation materials that the Radiant Heavenly Sacred Region has accumulated over the years. This time, when the Radiant Sacred Assembly opens, the Radiant Sacred Lord will allow 10 people who have made great contributions to the Radiant Heavens to choose materials from the Radiant Treasury. As you know, my Radiant Heavens does not have many artifact crafting powerhouses. Moreover, the Radiant Treasury has accumulated many rare treasures over the years. Ning Cheng directly interrupted Tang Hua's words. Miss Tang Hua, do you mean that you want me to help you choose the materials? Not to mention Tang Hua, even Ning Cheng felt a bit tempted. This was a universe governed by the laws of darkness and light. Radiant Heaven's Radiant Treasury had accumulated over countless years. How many precious materials would it contain? Maybe it even contained things like the Primal Chaos 5 soil. Even if there was no Primal Chaos 5 soil, wouldn't there definitely be soul-gathering Immortal Lotus? Lu Dongzi had not yet recovered his corporeal body because of the lack of soul-gathering Immortal Lotus. Tang Hua nodded. Yes, but not entirely. My grandfather has made a great contribution to the Radiant Heavens and is one of the candidates. My grandfather loves me and allows me to choose. Ning Cheng calmed down and spoke with a calm tone. Since it's the Radiant Treasury, why don't you just pick the good ones? Isn't it not much different from knowing the materials? Tang Hua shook her head. It's not like that. Before entering the treasury, there is an inspection round. All the people who are eligible to enter the treasury have to pass the inspection before they are eligible to enter the treasury. As for the inspection topic, it is to identify a variety of materials. So that was the case. Although Ning Cheng still had some doubts, he did not ask again. Ning Cheng did not ask, but Tang Hua continued to explain. There are a total of 20 people who are eligible to enter the treasury. Among these 20 people, only 10 people who pass the inspection can really enter the treasury. Among these 10 people, the first can choose 5 materials. The second and third can choose 3 materials. The fourth to sixth can choose 2 materials, while the 7th to 10th can only choose 1 material. Because the powerful artifact crafting masters of the sacred domain have already been selected. I heard that Grandmaster Zhong Jing is in the Warsong Imperial Domain, so I specifically came to find Grandmaster Zhong Jing. Is that Grandmaster Zhong Jing an artifact crafting grandmaster? Ning Cheng asked casually. Tang Hua replied, yes, Grandmaster Zhong Jing is one of the most famous artifact crafting grandmasters in my Bright Light sect. Unfortunately, his whereabouts are uncertain. I believe that you didn't look for me before to ask me to help you choose the materials, right? Ning Cheng looked at Tang Hua and asked. He was just a small rogue cultivator. If someone said that Tang Hua would ask him to participate in such an important selection, he would never believe it. Tang Hua spoke the truth. It is indeed so. When I first came to find you, it was mainly because your spiritual consciousness was very hidden. I wanted to figure out your origin. After I came in, I suddenly felt that in just 3 days, your strength seemed to have improved a lot compared to before. I took out the materials to test you, but I didn't expect you to even know Bubai. So, I wanted to ask you for help. Ning Cheng understood what Tang Hua meant. This woman had not found Grandmaster Zhong Jing. Even if she looked for another artifact crafting master, she would still lose. Because she doubted herself, she casually tested him. As I said before, why should I help you? Ning Qing had already decided to take action. The Radiant Treasury, to put it bluntly, the things stored in it were equivalent to half of the universe. As long as you can help me enter the top 6, I will agree to let you choose a material from the treasury that belongs to you. If it is after the 6th place, you can also propose a reward. Tang Hua knew that Ning Qing was talking about the reward. As for the 6th place and above, there was only one material, which she naturally would not give to Ning Qing. Ning Qing nodded. Okay, it's settled. But if I can get the 1st place, I need 3 materials. No problem. Tang Hua agreed to Ning Qing's request without hesitation. It was basically impossible for Ning Qing to get the 1st place, because the Radiant Bright Sun also had a top-notch artifact crafting grandmaster. For Tang Hua, whether Ning Qing got the 1st place or the 2nd place, she could only get 2 materials. However, the essence was completely different, because the 1st place could be the first to enter the treasury to choose the materials, while the 2nd place could only be the 2nd to enter the treasury to choose the materials. After Tang Hua and Ning Qing finished the transaction, they left directly. Ning Qing was afraid that Liz would come to harass him again, so he simply hung up the "Do Not Disturb Cultivation" sign. Although the Moran Royal Region was the closest royal region to the Radiant Bright Sun Sacred Domain, it was even closer than some parts of the Sacred Domain. But from the Moran Royal Region to the Sacred Domain, it would take more than 2 years. Ning Qing decided to complete at least the first step of Dao confirming within these 2 years. Just as Ning Qing had guessed, Liz found this place the moment Ning Qing chose to go into seclusion. Ning Qing's room was completely covered with restrictions and a "Do Not Disturb" warning. Therefore, Liz didn't want to disturb Ning Qing. After all, she had personally said that Ning Qing was now Tang Hua's guard. Because of the large number of people on the flight-type weapon, it was bustling with all kinds of shops. After Ning Qing boarded the ship, he only talked to Tang Hua for a while and never left the room again. No matter how bustling the ship was, he wasn't in the mood to go shopping. 5 months passed by quickly, and Ning Qing finally perfected a part of his cultivation method. His cultivation also directly stepped into the Dao sculpting realm. On this day, Ning Qing was thinking about whether to step into the Dao birth realm immediately or wait until he obtained the darkness origin bead to perfect the mysterious yellow formless before stepping into the Dao birth realm. Suddenly, the room shook violently. Ning Qing stopped cultivating and stood up. At the same time, his spiritual consciousness swept out. Apart from the slight tremors when it took off, the ship remained very stable. There was only one explanation for this kind of violent shaking. That was, someone was attacking it. Chapter 1404. Ning Qing initially thought that it was a powerful group of bandits intercepting them, but after talking to Tang Hua, he came to know that there were many bandits in this place. Because of this, some of the powerful people would always bring a few guards with them when they went out. But when Ning Qing swept out with his spiritual consciousness, he realized that this was not an individual group of bandits, but an army of bandits besieging them. Tens of thousands of uniformed fellows had forced the giant ship to stop. Although there were tens of thousands of guards and passengers on the ship, but each of them was fighting separately and was not a match for this bandit army. As the bandit army closed in on them in the form of a trap and kill array, groups of guards and passengers were killed. Some of the passengers on the ship, seeing that the situation was not good, turned around and began to flee. Although the bandit army was strong, it could not seal off this space. Moreover, this bandit army seemed to have a purpose, allowing the insignificant people to escape. For a time, more and more people escaped. In just a short time, except for a few passengers protected by many guards, who could not escape from the bandit army, most of the people had already escaped. Among the few people targeted by the bandit army, Liz and Tang Hua, as well as the head of the giant ship, were also trapped by the bandits and could not escape. Obviously, these bandits knew that these people were the ones with the most profit. Ning Qing saw that the guards around Tang Hua were getting fewer and fewer, while the strongest among them, Huang Fuxiu, was guarding Liz. He could not help but sigh in his heart. Huangfu Xiu used to be Tang Hua's guard, but now that he had been transferred to Liz, he did not care about Tang Hua's safety. Apart from that, these guards did not escape. The reason why Ning Qing wondered why the guards did not escape was because he did not understand the guard system in this place. Strictly speaking, he was not a guard, because real guards had to register. For example, after he became Liz's guard, he had to go to the Mo Luan Imperial Region or the Warsong Imperial Domain to register as Liz's guard. Once you became a guard, as long as the person you were protecting died, you would also have to die. Every guard had a mark on their body, so even if you escaped far away, you would still be hunted down and killed. In the entire bright sky, there was such a group of assassins who specialized in hunting down guards. Taking a step back, even if the mark on your body was removed, you could only live incognito. Otherwise, no matter where you went, you would be hunted down and killed. Because Liz had forgotten about Ning Qing, she did not take him to register as a guard. Later, she was in a hurry to go to the sacred domain and did not do it. Fortunately, Liz C did not do it. If Liz C dared to take Ning Qing to make a guard imprint, Ning Qing would never have sat on this ship. He would not hesitate to refuse to take the guard mark and go to the sacred domain alone. To find the sacred domain. Once Ning Qing refused, there would be a battle. No guard would dare to refuse to make the guard mark, as such one could imagine that Ning Qing would definitely go on a killing spree in that battle. Tang Hua, with disheveled hair, saw Ning Qing coming out with chasing bull and anxiously moved towards Ning Qing. Qing of that the more people would to of the people. She that, the more to the people to the people. Seeing that Liz was about to be overwhelmed by the numerous bandits, Ning Qing could only sigh and walk over. Long Qing to see. Qing did not to that he. Tang. Tang of Qing, Qing to Hua Tang people, and the Tang. Qing of Qing time. Of time. The faint light wheels were like the flow of time, taking away all traces of the battle. Swish. In front of the faint time wheel, apart from a faint layer of blood mist, there was only a spacious gap. It felt like a place washed away by a flood, without any obstacles. Ning Qing was infinitely close to the Dao Birth Realm. Therefore, facing this army of starry sky cultivators led by only a few Dao Sculpting and Dao Birth Realm cultivators, he could easily fight them. The cultivator army here had not even reached Dao Sculpting. Therefore, they relied on the attacks of the trap and kill arrays. Moreover, these trap and kill arrays were always effective against Dao Sculpting cultivators like Fu Tanghua. But in front of Ning Qing, they were full of loopholes. Every time he shot out would hit the weakest point of the trap and kill array. With Ning Qing's cultivation, dozens of time wheels would open up a wide space in front of him. Of the tens of thousands of bandits, more than 1,000 had fallen under his casual attacks. Apart from Ning Qing's time wheels being too powerful, Ning Qing's proficiency in the Dao of array formations was more important. As the powerful aura of time filled the air, everyone felt shocked by Ning Qing's attacks. The bandit leader finally understood that he had kicked an iron wall this time. This fellow had killed so many of his people with just a few time wheels. If it continued, his bandit army would be completely wiped out. Retreat. In fact, the bandit leader didn't need to speak at all. The bandit army had already started to collapse. The bandits only relied on the array formation. Once the array formation broke, even if Ning Qing didn't do anything, these bandits wouldn't be able to crush the people on the ship. At most, both sides would suffer. It felt like a dream. The bandit army, which had just faced the threat of death, retreated in a short time, leaving behind only a mess. Tang Hua finally reacted and hurriedly walked up to Ning Qing and bowed. Many thanks for Brother Ning's help this time. I didn't expect to encounter a bandit army. She truly didn't expect that a bandit army would rarely appear. Most of the time, they only appeared for treasures or accumulated resources. From this, she understood that someone on the ship carried treasures, which the bandit army found out about. Ning Qing showed a smile. It's nothing. Besides, we're all on the same ship. Many thanks for this friend's help. I'm Deacon Qing Yong. This friend's cultivation is earth-shattering. Cheng Yong had neglected you before, please. Another man came up to Ning Cheng and thanked him. Ning Cheng stopped him. I told you, we're all on the same boat. There's no need to be polite. Ning Cheng knew very well that if it weren't for this bandit army, but a motley crew besieging him, his time wheels wouldn't have such an effect. But because the bandit army's attack array was full of flaws in his eyes, it allowed him to be so relaxed. At this time, several more passengers with many guards came up to thank Ning Cheng. One of them was a fat man wearing a scarlet robe, which caught Ning Cheng's attention. This man was sandwiched in the middle of the crowd and looked inconspicuous. Moreover, under the siege of the bandit army, he also suffered some injuries, along with more than half of his guards. However, Ning Cheng felt that this man looked the most relaxed among the many survivors. If one only looked at his appearance, this fat man had small eyes and slightly crowded facial features. Obviously, he wasn't an open-minded person. It was not normal for a person who wasn't open-minded to look so open-minded. This fellow was most likely the target of these bandits. Maybe he had some treasures on him that the bandits wanted. Ning Cheng, why don't you come to my side? Liz also came over and looked at Ning Cheng with a complicated look in her eyes. She felt extreme regret in her heart for exchanging Ning Cheng for Huang Fuxiu. Huang Fuxiu was a good person, but compared to Ning Cheng, it was like the difference between a chicken and a phoenix. After saying this, Liz looked at Tang Hua. She thought that Tang Hua was the biggest obstacle to letting Ning Cheng come to her side. She was ready to wait for Tang Hua to speak and find a way to make Tang Hua agree. Ning Cheng suddenly frowned. Who did this woman think she was? Tang Hua, on seeing Ning Cheng frown, suddenly spoke up. Sister Liz, I now know that Brother Ning isn't a guard. You hid it from me for a long time and made me suffer a loss. All guards have to register themselves and then put a guard's mark on them. Brother Ning didn't register himself. This was the result of her investigation after she reached a deal with Ning Cheng. When Ning Cheng heard this, he immediately understood. Tang Hua was speaking up for him. Since he hadn't registered himself, he couldn't be considered as a guard. He didn't think that guards would have to register themselves and then put a guard's mark on them. If he knew about such a thing, he would never have registered himself or put a mark on himself. It's nothing, Ning Cheng. We'll soon arrive at the Warsong Imperial Domain. Let's go to the Warsong Imperial Domain to register ourselves. Liz looked at Ning Cheng with a charming look. Ning Cheng was speechless. This woman was crazy. I can go all the way to the sacred domain, but I'm not interested in registering as a guard. Ning Cheng rejected Liz without hesitation. Liz looked at Ning Cheng in surprise. Even if Ning Cheng's spirit technique was very powerful, Ning Cheng's strength was nothing compared to some powerhouses. How could a rogue cultivator from the mortal domain dare to refuse her words? At this moment, another flight-type weapon came over. Everyone immediately became alert. After all, they were almost robbed by the bandit army. But Liz spoke up with joy. Everyone, don't worry. My father sent someone to pick me up. Ning Cheng knew that Liz's true identity was the daughter of Jiang Gong from the Warsong Imperial Domain. Jiang Gong was the imperial emperor of the Warsong Imperial Domain. Since he sent someone to pick up Liz, then he should have heard the news of the bandit army. Sure enough, after the flight-type weapon landed, several powerhouses came to Liz's side and respectfully welcomed Liz up. Sister Tang Hua, let's go together. Liz invited Tang Hua, who was standing on the side. Ning Cheng understood Liz's meaning. He was now with Tang Hua. As long as Tang Hua went up, he would definitely go up. However, Ning Cheng didn't plan to go up. Even if Tang Hua went up, he wouldn't go up. The people who came to pick up Liz were all powerhouses. Ning Cheng didn't fear them, but he also wouldn't be stupid enough to sit on their flight-type weapon. Tang Hua showed a slight smile and looked at Ning Cheng before asking, Brother Ning, what do you think? Ning Cheng calmly replied, I won't go up. We can meet in the sacred domain. Ning Cheng was ready to ask Tang Hua for the map to the sacred domain. If Tang Hua didn't give it to him, then he would have to give up on this cooperation and find another way to go to the sacred domain. Tang Hua gave an "n" sound and said to Liz, the bandit army's attack was most likely caused by me. I won't go up. Sister Liz, let's meet in the sacred domain. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.